A very warm welcome to all the delegates who have joined in. A welcome to our today's speaker, Sandeep Wellingji, past chairman of EIRC, Nitesh Morji, and my co-convener, Saros Waikaji, and all my committee members. A warm welcome to the session of Bank Audit, Day 2. Friends, today's session we have subject of LFAR, fraud detection, audit planning, and documentation. All these three sessions is being dealt by three expert speakers. First is Sandeep Wellingji. Next, we are having Nitan Tillokar sir, who will be dealing with fraud detection. And third will be Lokesh Gupta ji, who will be dealing with audit planning and documentation. I welcome you, sir, for today's session. Friends, I think in the coming bank audit, these sessions will be very important because government is also looking forward with quality audit reviews and other things. We have found that a lot of wrong reportings has been carried out, which is being highlighted by RBI as well as government, which they want that all CAs should be preparing their reports in a proper manner. So what to report, how to report, and what are the changes, the session will be very important. I welcome you all and look forward for the same. I request our past chairman EIRC Nitesh More to address the gathering.
Thank you, Naveen ji. Friends, we have Sandeep ji. There has been drastic changes as far as this LFAR is concerned. So we have today Sandeep Welling ji will take us through all the changes. I wish this program a great success. Thank you.
Thank you, Nitesh ji. Now I would request committee member Neetu Bat to kindly introduce Sandeep Welling ji to the August House. Over to you, Neetu ji.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It's a great pleasure for me to introduce our speaker today, Mr. Sandeep Welling, who is going to talk to us about the data analytics for reporting under LFAR. As we all know that bank audit is approaching and his guidance will help us to enhance the quality in our work. He is a renowned speaker at various conferences and seminars. Seminars, national as well as international, particularly for banking sector. Sandeep sir has been a member of various ICI committees and expert panels that deals with various regulators relating to business laws, especially with RBI for past 12 years. He is on ICI Auditing and Assurance Tenders Board that issues pronouncements on all audit related guidance to the members. He heads banking, financial service and insurance service sector for the firm, and he is in charge of Mumbai office. He has over 30 years experience in assurance practice. He has a great experience in assisting banks for risk management, internal financial controls, implementations in major public and private banks, restructuring and turnaround strategies of banks, and forensic investigations of banks or specific transactions of a bank appointed on the instruction of RBI. He also deals with borrower restructure and feasibility exercise on behalf of the bank. A warm welcome to our guest, Mr. Sandeep Welling.
Thank you, Neetu ji. I would request Sandeep ji to please continue with the session.
Thank you.
Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Naveen ji. Thank you, Neetu ji. It was a nice introduction. First of all, let me thank all of you, invite you to such a huge gathering. And I'm really proud to be part of this August gathering today. Now, can I share my screen now?
Yes, sir, you can share the screen.
Yeah, I'll just
Just a small announcement to all the delegates. Kindly do not post your name and membership number in the chat box. Kindly use it for asking relevant questions. Your membership number and name will be auto-recorded.
Yeah. So basically, would like to, before I start on the clauses of LFAR, would like to have first a chat with all of you to take you through, the importance that LFAR reporting is gathering over the period. All of us may be aware that the LFAR requirements have materially gone under change last year onwards. And the manner in which the new LFAR is devised, and I'm sure the changes will keep happening every year hereafter. The earlier LFAR was in vogue for 30 years. It was first drafted before the computerized era. So majority of the questions therein were relating to data gathering. Sorry, data gathering. Whereas that needed change, so Institute was constantly after Reserve Bank of India, and finally it got success last year, and the new changes have taken place. We keep hearing from time to time in the newspaper about Reserve Bank of India coming very heavily on banks, levying them penalty, asking auditors for explanations, etc., etc. Now, I must tell you that LFAR is the only document in our bank audit, be it branch audit or central statutory audit. LFAR is the only document that is being referred to by the regulator. Our main audit report is standard, 1 page. It doesn't reveal much with regard to the information of the entity. The entire focus of Reserve Bank of India, or a regulator for that matter, is what you have written in the LFAR. So finally, you may have done good job. My observation so far with many of us, where Reserve Bank of India has passed strictures, etc., etc. The problem was not that the member was not diligent enough in his duty. The problem, he failed to project his diligence through his report called LFAR. Many times, we would give LFAR a last priority, and last minute, nikalo, pichle saal ka nikalo, and then we suddenly start looking at what was written last year, and we started copying. That is where sometimes we failed. Because as chartered accountants, we always thought that the subject matter is at the helm. So 98% of our queries was on whether this should be downgraded, whether security should be taken up. So all the questions have been qualitative questions. But what has gone in is never seen, because what ultimately is written is something seen by the outsider, wherein majority of the cases not applicable, not available. Oh, auditor ne kuch kaam nahi kiya. So the impressions were created that way, not because we were not working. So we should be diligent in actually reporting to LFAR, because the way you have drafted LFAR will speak for your quality of audit. Number 2, the manner in which the questionnaire is devised. You will observe, we will of course go through each and every clause. The manner in which it's drafted now, you will observe that Reserve Bank of India, or for that matter regulators, now want chartered accountants to be part of the governance chain. They want to see this world, their constituents, through our eyes and ears. And therefore, they are trying to work with us. They are trying to sometimes even, tighten the screws, but take it in a positive manner, because ultimately, if we follow it in the right spirit, well, things do happen well. And I can see that difference happening. Number 3, many times we empathize with the problem faced by the branch manager, And we tend to write in a softer manner, or we write but actually don't give effect to. There are quite a few things that happen. I've seen LFARs where we keep on writing things. This is bad, this is bad, this is bad, this is bad, this is bad. This is a problem, this is a problem, this is a problem. But when it comes to MOCs, that account doesn't get reflected. So such anomalies create a problem. And therefore, whatever you are doing at the branch should be decisive. While I'm saying that, I would also request all of us to be responsible, because I have also seen the other extremes. As a central statutory auditor, there have been cases where we had to reverse the MOCs passed by the state, SBS, simply because they were too far-fetched. So we also need to follow certain equilibrium. Now, having said that, last thing before I start, see, ultimately, Reserve Bank, when we say audit, we basically mean that we have followed the audit standards. And therefore, there are certain clauses or comments from RBI I have included first in my presentation before I move. So let me start. These are the prerequisites. Master circulars issued by Reserve Bank of India, everybody must have told you. Closing circulars, everybody must have told you. Guidance note. I can tell you, Institute has really been working and genuinely working hard. Some of the members who have been part of this study circle, study group, have been working to ensure that our guidance note is updated every year. Guidance note, any regular notifications up to January 31st, you will find them. 98% of the problems that you may face may have been captured in the guidance note. So this is something which you must have. It so happened that I am also on that expert committee where questions are asked, and within 24 hours, sometimes I get the answer. Last year I got some question about the audit report format, etc., etc. And I simply copied it from the guidance note and sent it to across. Institute pulled me subsequently, saying that why are you spoon feeding our members? You should have said that please refer to guidance note. Because if our members are not studying enough, it's difficult for them to move forward. So basically, remember, guidance note is something which you must have, and most of your queries will get resolved. Sorted. These are some of the comments which we got from Reserve Bank of India. You are aware that regulators are working very closely with accounting world. As a CSA, they keep meeting us every quarter. They keep telling us in advance what is their expectations. So these are some of their comments which I thought could be relevant for all of us. Now, here they say expectations from statutory auditors to display a greater degree of skepticism and independence in assessment, asset classification. Now, some of the questions, some of us asked the question, as a part of our audit, we have always been exercising skepticism. What is this greater skepticism? I've included a few slides on that, or I will keep referring to this term called greater degree of skepticism often to showcase what exactly they mean. But you must have known that last year Reserve Bank of India came up with directive, and all the banks were expected to completely seamlessly follow the IRAC norms through the CBS system. It was proposed that no bank will have any manual interventions with regard to IRAC norms. All the banks have done. In fact, I have conducted the satisfaction test for some of the banks also. Yes, I would say that though majority aspects are taken care of, some of the non-fund aspects continue to be a challenge. For example, solidarity credit or a check bouncing takes place on 28th of March. So debit credit aata hai, debit aata hai. Obviously, that credit is picked up by the system as a credit, and therefore it may run out of. So such tricks are being played by the management. Now, what Reserve Bank of India is saying, be diligent, because many of us all these years have been worrying more on the IRAC norms. Now that this is taken up by system, now major system, a major job, interpretational job is being taken over by the system. What are auditors going to do? Yes, there is a lot for us to do. Okay, and it is observed that don't rely just on the lines, but read between the lines. We will come to some of the aspects in the time to come. Now remember, this is what Reserve Bank of India is saying, that auditors don't seem to be taking external confirmations, and more importantly, SA 530 on audit sampling. To tackle this, the new LFAR came into being. Remember this is an IMF World Bank recommendation to Reserve Bank of India that RBI should have explicit authority to access working papers of the auditors. It is our institute which is standing behind us and saying, no, it's actually part of our property. However, should there be major mishaps, there is not going to be much time for RBI to lift the veil. So your documentation is very crucial at the branch level. Let me come to the topic straight now. I have not included certain clauses which are of standard nature and which prevailed all these years, such as cash, etc., etc. All of us are well aware. I will talk about the nuances. I will talk about the changes that have taken place and the significance from the current scenario perspective. You will see one major change, that is that 2 crores is done away with, and now they are saying 10 crores and above. So any account which is 10 crore and above must be picked up. Or if it is a smaller branch, 10% of the branch exposure. Now that's a broad guideline for a sample. Now, Reserve Bank of India realized that some questions asked, then the answer to that auditor would say, oh, that particular account was not picked up as a sample by us, etc., etc. So Reserve Bank of India now is saying, please list down the accounts chosen during the audit as sample for the purpose of your checking. This is the first slide. Please note, the new LFAR basically pins us down on various aspects. At several occasions, several questions, we are actually providing affirmative confirmation to the regulator. Our main audit report, we will qualify only if we find something wrong. Here, Reserve Bank of India is saying, no, tell me which all accounts you have chosen. So majority of our answers would be with respect to those accounts you have chosen, or else in certain cases, it could be the entire population relating to that aspect. We will come to questions slowly, and you will realize how pinpointing they are, and it's impossible to complete the job if you take it up at the last minute. Assume equal importance to it, or rather I would say greater importance to it, and start attacking it right from your first day of your audit. The first question: have you come across cases of quick mortality? Quick mortality, like all of us know, refers to any account that goes or that slips into SS, that is, NPA in the first year within 12 months, substandard within 12 months. Now, it may so happen to avoid, there are severe penalties and severe repercussions to branch manager or a sanctioning authority if this happens. So generally there is a tendency that they will push it beyond 12 months. So if you find any account which is SMA 0, which is sanctioned within 12 months in 21-22, that should be picked up. Even if it is not NPA, SMA 0, SMA 1, SMA 2, if you see those, please pick up for your specific check whether they really, what is the issue with assessment? Why is this happening? Have your comments on those in your documents, because many times it has so observed that when we see just the regulations and the lines on the regulation, and we tend to ignore, sometimes empathize based on, okay, fine, when I am signing it, the status is so and so. So I allow it to be postponed to next year. And that is where the regulators get little worried with our approach. And that is why they say greater degree of skepticism. So don't just say whether 90 days or so, see whether there is a weakness. Attack that weakness aspect and don't attack the thresholds given in the circular. Now, this is something which system will obviously not catch. That is why you need audit. Otherwise, system would take care of it automatically. Whether in borrower account, the applicable interest rate is correctly fed into the system. Now, I would say all of us are aware that Reserve Bank of India again last year came up with the guideline on ICFR. So all public sector banks are also subjected to ICFR guidelines, and therefore the RCMs are prepared by all the banks and they are being rolled out. Not all the banks take that certification from branch auditors. Some banks take it only to selected branches. If you happen to be the auditor of a branch where such a branch is selected for IFC reporting, you may have to undertake that IFC reporting, wherein this aspect would anyway be checked. If not, at least for the accounts you have chosen, check. Because many times we have observed the changes, sanction happens, then subsequent negotiation happens, and the new rate is fed in, but the sanction note continues to have the old rate. That's where Reserve Bank of India picks up and says, first. Now you don't have any answer at that point of time other than those verbal discussions. Now, whether interest rate reviewed periodically as per the guidelines applicable to floating loan rates. Now, most of this is taken care of by the system, and therefore we need not worry on this account. Now, whether correct and valid credit rating. All of us are aware that the credit rating is essential for exposures above 5 crores and above. After ILFS, in fact, above certain limits, depending on the bank policy, they take 2 credit ratings. And you have to choose whichever is the worst for the purpose of your CRR calculations. Now, many times the ratings given to you could be expired. Many times they are not available. In my opinion, hereafter, we will write the truth and not allow any kind of a leverage, because another experience tells me that there is a complete different mindset at the branch level and at the top level. Any bank top level wants the truth to be brought to them so that they can manage it. If things are kept under the carpet at the branch level, frankly speaking, that becomes a surprise to the top management when it gets larger. And that's where we as auditors fail to create impression that we have done our job. We may be right, technically you may not be caught, but still there remains some element to say that, well, auditor has not done it, which should have been done. Think from that perspective. It's a responsibility to us, and therefore we need to think in that direction. Now here it says, in cases examined by you, credit facilities have been sanctioned beyond delegated power. Or if that happens, whether promptly reported. Fine. This is something which is a normal question. Whether advances have been disbursed without complying. Now, I came across a situation last week only in one bank during my system check. The date of disbursal was prior to date of documentation. Now, the question was, how could it happen? So disbursement took place hurriedly, and subsequently documents also. What if documents were not to be there? So system should not allow a date beyond disbursal time. If you come across such, in my opinion, it would attract comment under this clause. Please note, these aspects may not have the monetary repercussions on the financial statements of the current year, but audit at the branch is not just meant for the purpose of correct accounting of financial. It also has so many questions that helps management, that helps regulator to foresee what is coming. And therefore, such questions are crucial. Did the bank provide loans to companies for buyback of shares? Now here my suggestion is, it's impossible for an auditor. We did have argument on this with Reserve Bank of India, but they were very straightforward that no, they want this. The question is, how would we find out? What if LAP is given and that is used for buyback of shares or securities? We will never know. And therefore, my request would be, if you could take the management representation for answering this, that would be the best way. Otherwise, we'll have to appropriately answer these questions. In case of review and renewal, the branch managers have been very, very smart in camouflaging the system. All of us are aware that if review doesn't take place within 180 days, system will mark it as substandard. To avoid that, they simply change the date. They simply change the date. I therefore, see here the question is, please find out whether there are reviews pending between 3 to 6 months, over 6 months. Actually, you will not find anything above 6 months. If it is there, system would have marked that NPA. But still you will find those mentioned. And if you come across very recently reviewed, check whether reviews have genuinely been taken up or they are being just camouflaged. Because in some banks, some large banks have created the proper system whereby the short reviews are kept separately and the manager cannot do more than 2 short reviews. But many banks, if they have not done, this is a vulnerable clause and we need to accordingly take care of it. Stock and book statements. We are either liberal or we are too stringent on this. This is basically a technical matter, and it is necessary that they are on record. If not, get it, ensure that they are there on the record. If not, then we'll have to report if you have not found any, because it's about the discipline. Stock audit reports are, there is one funny thing with public sector bank. Anything above 5 crores requires stock audit. However, stock audits are not allotted by the branch. They are allotted by the zone. So with regard to stock audit, you will find all kinds of observations. A, eligible, but not stock audit not allotted. Stock audit allotted, but audit not started. Audit started, audit report not available. Audit report available, but not seen by the manager, not taken cognizance by the manager. So all kinds. So whether there exists a system of obtaining periodic stock audit reports? Yes. If so, whether branch has complied. You don't have to worry whether it was branch manager's mistake or zonal manager's mistake. If they are not complied, say these are the accounts were not complied. Stock audit was required but not conducted. Whether stock audit conducted but no action. So here, look the way they are drafted. You are providing affirmative confirmations to Reserve Bank of India on the issues that were always we were checking, but were part of our document. So indirectly, most of our documentation aspect are being asked to be produced upfront, and therefore we will anyway have it on the LFA. So imagine the way it's drafted. So we are assuming more responsibilities. Non-corporate entities. This has been a subject matter of large debate for last, I would say, 20 years. You remember there was a clause of any non-corporate entity about 10 lakhs. Actually, when we ask for the data, we are given tax audit report. The tax audit report is not necessarily an audited statement because the all the auditing standards expected may not have been complied with first tax audit. And therefore, this is one clause where it's still ambiguous, and you should ask whether there are any such policy? If not, straight away say that there is no such policy given to you. In a branch, you may find an account which is a consortium account, and your bank is not the lead auditor. Obviously, those consortium minutes and all of these are actually available with the lead banker. So far, we have been just saying that they are available with. Now, there is a proper guidance and there is a format in which the requirements have to be kept on record. You have to ask your branch manager to give you that information so that updated information on the consortium or multiple banking accounts is available to you. We cannot simply say, no, they are with so and so. No, if they are not, you will have your, and if you find majority of the cases, and if the amount is material, you will have the repercussions on your opinion. Because you can't keep things open-ended and then say everything is hunky-dory. So don't do this. So these are the kind of anomalies that Reserve Bank of India is observing, and therefore, many times they comment, why have branch audit? And institute has been saying, no, this is the reason why we need branch audit. But if the reports don't get generated in that spirit, well, the discussion again gets invoked. Securities, in respect of advances examined by you, have you come across cases of deficiency, including value of security? All of us know that security valuation has to be updated. It cannot be beyond 3 years. And one more thing, see, it assumes importance only when the account gets into doubtful category. My request and my suggestion would be, that whichever accounts you are actually going through, you have chosen. Here it specifically says in respect of advances examined by. So the questions about stock audit, the inspection, the DP calculation, somewhere has indirect impact on this. Don't keep anomalies between these for you to answer. And therefore, value of security. Number 2, there are 3 types of values: market value, realizable value, and distress value. Generally, for ongoing account, you take realizable values. So see whether realizable the policy, and accordingly bank has done that. So when you say yes, all the accounts you have chosen here in this first, get your nod that yes, everything is right. So imagine the repercussions, and therefore we need to be careful. Next. I will talk about this red flag account later because it's a larger topic and we really need to discuss this in detail. Okay, so I will move to next question. Comment on adverse features considered significant in top 5 standard large advances. The earlier sentence was top 5 accounts. There is a difference between top 5 account and top 5 standard accounts. You may have top 3 accounts as bad accounts. So the reason why this was put, and there is some element of that red flag also into this, is Reserve Bank of India found See, like I told you earlier, if the entire Iraq systems are being taken over by the CBS, everything is automated. What is auditor doing? Auditor is using his diligence. Auditor knows how to read between the lines. That intelligence has to come out here. And the observation has been many accounts straight away have gone to loss account from standard account. In majority of the cases where frauds have taken place, direct from standard to loss. And therefore this clause. So don't think that it's an easy clause, because if you are commenting on top 5 standard accounts, you have deemed to have taken care of all the angles of it. You have seen whether the operations are right. You have seen whether the securities are right. You have seen whether the reviews have properly taken place. You have seen that, you don't see major. I'll tell you in one of the cases that I come across while checking these top 5 standard accounts. The account was standard, running well, had a turnover of 400 crores and a limit of around 50 crores or so in the account, in the bank. Now, when I checked, I realized that although his turnover is 400 crores, the summation in the account is barely 200. How come? So when you investigate further, there are a lot of things that came out, and in spite of that being a standard account, actually that turned to be a fraudulent account. So when we are commenting affirmatively on these standard accounts, things need to be taken care of. There is one more case, and this is one clause I would say where my comment earlier on greater skepticism is applicable the most. We need to exercise little greater skepticism with regard to these 5 standard accounts. There is one more case I would like to share here. Another some 300 crore turnover account, running fantastically well, no problem. Turnover is nice, balance sheets are nice, everything is nice. Stock statement, security, no issues. However, I realized that 80% of its purchases are from related parties and 100% of its sale to another related party. So my question was, am I funding this company or am I funding its sister concerns? They have created this shell organization. There is some purchase and there is some sale. 100% to related parties. So we are funding the company that is from whom we are purchasing. I am funding the company which is export. The year I was checking, from the shift was from fund based to non-fund based, and sales were to Dubai related party. Now, these are some of the things which may or may not be right. I ensured that I wrote my skepticism on this. I understand that account is still running well. Doesn't matter. But these vulnerabilities were brought on paper. So this is where we need to be exercising a greater degree of skepticism. You must have known one famous case of almost 2013 or 14, where it was a total 6,000 crore exposure to banking industry. The lead bank was HSBC. Rest all were five with PSBs, right from PNB to Bank of Maharashtra, all. Right from 1,000, 1,200 crores to 200-300 crores, many banks had shared. Now, in this particular account, it was so nice that the bankers would practically sit outside the promoter's cabin to take some 10 crores, 5 crore limit from them. If not fund-based, give me non-fund-based. Bankers would urge. Over the period, he started inviting bankers, retired top-notch bankers, EDs, general CGMs and EDs of the banks on his board. And then he says that now I want my company to run by the professionals. I don't want to interfere. And therefore I would resign and leave it to you. He goes off. All the bankers, EDs and CGMs, and the sales was obviously to sister concern in Dubai, and that account was suddenly went into a loss account on one fine day when he actually devolved one LC. But on the date of the default, HSBC as a lead bank had no exposure or a zero exposure. Our public sector banks, in that 2 years, they felt, if they are not taking such a good account, I will take. They would fight and they took the exposure, but they did not read these lines in between. We as auditors also have checked. Yes, technically auditors are right. It was a standard account, no problem account, but nobody could see or read or exercise the greater degree of skepticism. So, top 5 standard accounts when you are checking, a lot of things will come into, our understanding of business also would get into it. It's a free match for you to comment. So if you have any skepticism, do write. I will go next. In respect of leasing finance activities, now you will realize that NBFCs and these finance companies, the only security they have is their debtors, their loan portfolio. In most of the cases, the same portfolio, say 300 crores, 500 crores, 1,000 crores, same portfolio gets replicated to their various facilities as their security. But they are not multiples of portfolios. This is one portfolio divided into various. So please note that proper appropriation among different facilities need to be done. Now, this is one aspect. So RBI has issued a circular. Please go through this circular before you answer this particular question. Every answer should be informed and should not be by virtue of mere discussion with the branch manager. As I'm progressing, I'm sure you are realizing the heat, or you are realizing how the regulator is trying to make us part of the change. It's a pride moment for us, but at the same time, it's a responsibility. Majority of this question would now be taken care of by, in fact, maybe this year we will again engage with Reserve Bank of India to change some of these questions next year. One of the question here, okay, before that, indicate whether required changes have been incorporated. Like I said, if you write too many comments and don't have its reflection on MOC, that speaks bad for you. So be decisive. The specific question here is indicate whether required changes have been incorporated, suggested in the MOC. Here the next question is list the accounts with outstanding in excess of 10 crores, which will have either downgraded or upgraded with regard to their classification currently. So any account which is downgraded or upgraded, 10 crores and above, please note, okay, select all the accounts having exposure of 10 crores and above and have classification movements. Okay, upgrading especially would need a greater. I have seen some accounts who constantly keep getting downgraded and upgraded, downgraded and upgraded, downgraded and upgraded. Now there is another circular on IBC that says if account has been downgraded and after upgrade, again if it keeps on going down, no, if the movements, if it continues to be like that for 6 months, it should be taken out for the purpose of special investigation. But 10 crores enough. So if it keep happening, find out what is the reason. Have special audit on it. Whether RBI guidelines for IRAC have been followed. In my opinion, this is too overreaching question and would be part of our opinion anyway. When we sign, we say that yes, everything is followed correctly. In my opinion, 100% of the branches that we'll be doing, this portion will not be part of that branch operation. Recoveries are never part of the branch operations. They generally get transferred to either a recovery branch or a zonal office. However, these questions are kept because there is a possibility that some branch allotted to you happens to be one of them. So, recovery policy, write-offs, waivers, actually you will not find, but still it's there, and therefore I have, it being a new thing, I've mentioned. Exposures, if you look at here, list of borrowers where LCs have devolved or guarantees have been invoked. Imagine you will always have cases where LCs are devolved, but they get paid subsequently. Guarantees invoked, but he paid. But if a particular borrower is observed, any case we don't have option. All the cases of devolved LCs will have to come here. But our learning out of this is, in case, if a borrower is showing a habit or a tendency, that is where our greater skepticism comes into being. You may find technically that account to be perfectly before or within the crease. It's within the crease, it's not out, but still you have the tendency here, and therefore you will have your appropriate comment. Imagine with regard to the same, next question is devolved or invoked but not paid. So if they are not paid and if 90 days are over, they may anyway go. But within that period, also you will find those. And instances where interchangeability between was allowed. Now, here there are two aspects. A, if it is part of the original sanction, it's a different story. And if he is given a permission letter, is another thing. Generally, permission given later is viewed by the regulator as accommodation. And therefore, this clause is there. So if you come across any such interchangeability allowed subsequent to some devolvement or subsequent to some problem that faced by the borrower, it's construed to be an accommodation, and therefore it's a first sign of a problem. Now, frankly speaking, I don't say here that if you see the problem, downgrade it. No. See, I'll tell you, in one of the conversations, Reserve Bank of India said, auditors are too obsessed about provisioning and downgrading. Well, that's not the only objective. That is just a measure. The real test is whether the borrower well-being is taken care of. And that is where they expect us to use that greater skepticism. When we do audits and when we have been doing all these years, frankly speaking, we know the pulse. We can make out. I'll just tell you one example that I came across. There was one account, excellent account, okay? I was just checking that account. Two good transactions, in multiples of their limit up to November. December onwards, suddenly stopped. Very meager observations, transactions. Though it was still a standard account as of March, I was not comfortable. Why this is happening? What is this? Why is this? So I asked him, what is this business? बोला वो family owned है. Family owned है क्या? अच्छा अच्छा. दो भाई चलाते हैं. तो भाई में कुछ झगड़ा हो गया क्या? I just casually asked this question. अरे सर आपको कैसे पता था? Like basically just because there was some dispute between the two, they started maintaining some different individual accounts until that is resolved. Now, between the two, both of them don't have any intent of defrauding bank. But until their problem gets resolved, bank is a sufferer. So, such reading between the lines, sometimes, you come across during conversation. And our comments on these aspects would sail us through that yes, we were diligent. Out of that slide is not there because our topic is different today. In a fraud scenario, Reserve Bank of India said out of top 20 fraud accounts, not a single case there was any kind of a mention in the auditor's report of a bank as well as the company. In one case, there was an auditor of that company had given emphasis of matter. Top 20 amounting to few thousands of crores, not a single mention by either bank auditor or by company auditor. So I'm sure my deliberations, you are also able to understand where I'm coming from and what they, are the expectations of the regulator through our report. And this is the time for us to rise to the occasion. And frankly speaking, nothing happens. If you report rightly, you are appreciated. If you are not a troublemaker, and if you are genuine to what you have written, you are appreciated. Especially top management, regulators do appreciate. Generally, deposits we never check at the year end, and it's not meant for us as a statutory auditor. That's what we think, and that rightly so in many. But this one question, I would like to just give you a brief. That is, in my opinion, in 2014 or 15, there was a big hue and cry in the parliament with regard to the levies charged by the bank for non-maintenance of minimum balance. And that total amounted to some few hundred crores in that year, all banks put together. And some MP had taken it up that banks are looting for poor people, etc., etc. Their narratives, political narratives. Thereafter, you will see, probably you will see in your appointment letter also, that we are expected to give this certification, whether, penalty levied for banks for non-maintenance of the minimum balance is calculated correctly. A branch manager is bound to say it's all automated, rightly so. For the sake of documentation, my suggestion and request to you would be pick up 5 cases of minimum balance and see whether levies are done correctly. It will not take you more than 10 minutes. But it is only for the sake of documentation. Bills payable and sundry deposits. This one thing in the trial balance of a branch is so highly vulnerable and fraud prone. These will be operational frauds and not the account frauds. So the first question is the number of items in the aggregate amount of old outstanding items pending for 1 year or more be obtained from the branch and reported under appropriate heads. Okay. So anything above 1 year. And here I would say pick up the last year's outstanding and the list. Check the difference. That is where the vulnerability is. Some EMD, after 10 years, instead of transferring to DEF, some clerk or officer uses his brain, produces some fake bill, takes out. See, debit to this account is not even going to be noticed. Some 1,21,000 balance. That architect or carpenter is, I don't know where he would be. such cases are found. And therefore, any item which is being debited during the year, check for its genuinity. I won't touch much upon the profit and loss, etc., because they are fairly straight questions, and most of these debits come directly through systems. Okay, but I would come to one aspect, and that is MIS, which is significant for us. And that is, branch manager generally operates his branch, and his eyes and ears is this MIS tools. There are several MISs. One number you will find in all they are called different in different. Somebody calls it blue statement, somebody calls it J4, J5, somebody calls it account statement. Everybody will. But the entire branch accounts details, which gives you everything, limits, outstanding, summary, everything is available. This particular document will be extremely good for you for choosing your sample, for having, and practically 100% of your opinion can be formed through this particular with regard to accounts. There are some exceptional reports, review reports, stock statement not received, DP violations, all of this, stress borrower. Generally, I prefer to take SME 2 account of say February end. And just check what happened to those. This year, because CBS has taken care of it, well, in my opinion, this being a first year, we should continue our audit check until we are confident about the system operations being done correctly. So, because some of the banks were still taking certificates. In one bank where I conducted the audit of system, we first conducted September end. Then we conducted again December end. So when we kept on giving observations, so they said, okay, that particular aspect will be taken care in January. This will be taken care of in February, because system configurations also do take time. So some are yet to take my final certificate, some have just taken. So you may find some vulnerabilities this year, this being a first year. In fact, our rightful checking would help the bank management and the regulator to come up with the right configurations to the system if we come across the observations this year. Let me come
middle, sir. So
Sorry?
we have our second session speaker awaiting, sir. If you can wrap up the session in next 5 minutes.
Oh my God. Okay. Actually, I have something important to tell you. And
that's why I said, sir.
Yeah. So I was all along discussing on greater skepticism. There is a detailed clause on frauds, wherein one clause is RFA, that is red flagged accounts. I would suggest you should go through one. Actually, red flagged accounts is the circular that is applicable for 50 crores and above. However, please note that this circular is so fantastic. It's I think 15th May or 7th May 2015. 7th May 2015. Circular on red flagged accounts or early warning signals. Framework for dealing with loan, advising the banks for red flagged accounts. Okay. So it lists down 45 vulnerabilities. So if you come across such transaction in a borrower account, consider, some of the greater frauds which have taken place. These were the signs. Out of these 45, some of them were part of their operations. So if you come across such situation, please pick it up. Now, majority of the cases, you will see $50 crores and above were 80% of the frauds. And therefore, they have taken 50 crores. But 50 crores is not sacrosanct. For the purpose of our audit, depending on the branch that we are doing, you could lower it to 10 crores. And I can tell you, you will have an effective audit. Please go through these early warning signals circular of 7th May 2015. Fantastic. So that will help you also in giving your comments with the top 5 standard accounts. That can be used as your checklist in other audits also. It's that good. So basically, the reasons for all this, as given by Reserve Bank of India, is most of us have been obsessed with provisioning. Whereas if you provide, suppose if I'm a bad man and you provide, I am free to go elsewhere and take loans. But if you declare me as a fraudulent guy, I cannot go out somewhere and defraud others. In many cases, the delays in recognizing a particular borrower as a fraud account has created problem to banking industry. I'll just give you one small example. 2 years back, when I was auditing, it was a small account, 3 crore. Okay. Npa account. And while going through, I realized that actually it has become NPA because the underlying asset was sold. Now bank was providing. I said, nothing doing. It's a fraudulent account. अरे नहीं, ये तो किसी फिल्म स्टार के बहन का है, ऐसा है वैसा है. Actually, we have it is between the two brothers and sisters, they are fighting. Otherwise, monies are safe, they will pay, we are confident, etc., etc., etc. I said, nothing doing, it's a fraud. So what happened? He said, we will discuss. So he called me in his cabin next day at 3 o'clock, and 2-3 people were sitting. So I thought the branch manager and his deputy, everybody sitting. So I started bombarding that guy. Hey, kya problem hai? I'm going to declare this as a fraud. I'm going to write to Reserve Bank of India. Blah blah. Now that fellow happened to be the borrower. I didn't know that. He was shit squared. People are shit squared if they have to be declared fraud. That was Friday. And he told me, sir, please don't sign till Monday. I was anyway a central statutory auditor, so I could wait for another 2, 3, 5 days, no problem, because board meeting was still far off. It was just a zonal office conclusion. They said Monday evening, the officer calls me to say, sir, payment ho gaya. So people are shit scared. If there is ability, and for some stupid reason things are happening, well, delay in reporting krill, somebody going into SMA 0 coming back, SMA 0 coming back, SMA 01 coming back. Now the fact is, the moment he goes to SMA 0, he should be reported. Delay in reporting creates a problem. He goes to 10 other banks, he goes to some other bank because he's still not declared bad. So such delays, empathizing with the other problems, That's our basic Indian nature. Sometimes, it doesn't get applicable for such ruthless business transactions or intended transactions. And therefore, we should be true to our heart and ensure that these aspects are taken care of very carefully. So, see, these are some of the points in that RFA. Critical issues highlighted in the stock audit reports, poor disclosure of materially adverse information, frequent change of scope of the project, liabilities appearing in ROC search report, not annual report, not routing sales through consortium, like I gave you example. So I had picked it up from here. I was not great. Just because I have gone through this circular, I recollect, ऐसा कुछ है. LCs issued for related parties without underlying trade transactions. 100% sir guarantee है, 100% security है, no problem. नहीं, that itself is a problem. 100% guarantee, 100% security के सामने guarantee दिया है, that is the largest threat of money laundering. You never know. Raids by income tax, freeze किया, कोई account freeze किया है, कुछ किया है. Significant reduction in the stake of the promoters, pledging of shares. No, though things have not gone wrong as of the time you are signing. If you come across this situation, there is a chance that such an account will create some problem to the bank in the near future, and therefore early warnings. And therefore that clause. So if we understand the interlinkages of these clauses, don't take individual clause independently, answer it. Understand where the regulator is coming from. What is the intent? What is that he wants us to partner with us on these aspects. So please, I have skipped those certain slides in between because the time is short. Okay. ICFR I spoke about, so I won't speak again. I think I've done. So at least I could, I just wanted to cover this last portion very effectively so that, it emphasizes on our mind that yes, this is why we need to be little more stringent or diligent. I won't say stringent, diligent.
Right, sir.
Thanks
Thank you for the insightful session on LFAR. Just to sum up, sir, what you said that the greater degree of skepticism, once we find that the account is not NPA and everything is good, then also the auditor should move into a greater deal of introspection, I would say, wherein he could find some irregularities. As you said that 100% sales is through subsidiary only, which will be a red flag, and that needs to be reported in LFAR. And as we all know that LFAR is the picture which we want to see the regulators and which we want all the stakeholders to watch, and it's also the viewpoint of the auditor who is auditing, that what he has audited and what he wants to report, all those things can be reported in LFAR. Thanks a lot, sir. So we have 2 questions with respect to this, whether there is a list where the members can find what are the changes in LFAR which is applicable in 21-22.
No, 21-22 there is no change. Whatever was change made last year continues, so the LFAR doesn't change this year.
Sir. And so another question is, what should be the percentage of our audit as per RBI?
Okay, let me now, earlier there used to be a case where for overall banks, RBI would say we used to debate 20 crores branch, 50 crores branch for audit, etc., you would know. Now what simply Reserve Bank of India is saying, that 90% of the advances should be covered, okay, of the branches. Now, within 90, for a given branch, generally you will find that 80-20 rule is always applicable, where 20% of the advances will have 80% of, if you happen to be the retail branch auditor, then it's a problem. Okay. In such case, what in my opinion, see, generally 75 to 80% of advances must be covered. Now, if you happen to be in a branch which is a retail branch, you have to cover each portfolio from the policy perspective, because most of the systems would be same. So you can pick up few and claim that you have covered the entire portfolio. That way. So my ballpark figure has always been 75% to 80%.
Thank you, sir. That was all, sir. I thank you, sir, on behalf of Views Exchange and on behalf of all the audiences who were present over here, for sparing out time and giving the insight on the LFAR and the parts which an auditor should look forward and what he should report on the LFAR pattern, sir. Thanks a lot, sir.
Thank you. I leave.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
We welcome now, friends, our new speaker, Nitant Tilokar, sir, who will be dealing in fraud detection and will taking forward the session that how the greater degree of spectrism can be, we can adopt, and we can find out the frauds through better understanding. I welcome you, Nitant, sir, and would request our committee member Neetu Bhatt to kindly introduce Nitant Tilokar, sir. Over to you, Neetu ji.
Yes, Naveen is here. Okay. It's a great pleasure for me to introduce our second speaker, Mr. C. Nitant Tilokar, who is going to talk to us about the fraud detection in bank audits. Born in Malaysia, he has schooled in Mumbai and Hong Kong. He has completed by date more than 500 bank branch audits, completed over more than 23 banks, concurrent revenue statutory expenditure system. He has also led system audit teams to more than 20 banks in private sector and cooperative bank sector, in addition to pharmaceuticals, manufacturing, BPO sectors. He had led teams for forensic investigation of frauds in banks, in addition to unearthing frauds during statutory internal audit circumstances. He has conducted internationally approved quality and control audits of banking software for software houses providing banking software to Indian and international banks. He has authored more than 16 books, some of which are Contemporary Bank Audit 2008, Information System Security in Banks, TDS in Banks and Finance Companies, Guide to Information Technology Act, Bank Audit Practice Manual, Auditing in Computer Environment 1992 and 95. He has written his first fiction book titled The Accidental Hacker, which is in the market. This was appreciated by erstwhile defense minister, who personally phoned him to appreciate the pointers in the book. He is listed in Wikipedia for fraud detection practiced by pioneering techniques. He has been interviewed twice on Sudarshan, 15-minute capsule, after the news when banking fraud was the breaking news of that day. He has written various articles in leading newspapers and magazines. He is a visiting faculty to training centers of many banks and management colleagues. The achievements are endless, but due to time management issues, I am ending here only and ask Mr. Tilokar to share his expertise with us.
Thank you, Neetu ji. I would hand over the session to Nitant, sir. I also welcome our past president, Manish Gadia ji. I can see he's joined the session and would request him to take forward the session. Over to you, Nitant, sir.
Yeah, thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. You're audible.
Very good. In the morning, I had some technical problem over there. So good, there's no problem now. Thank you very much for the introduction, and especially Neetu ji has pronounced my name very correctly, which is a very difficult thing to do. I have this policy which was taught to me by some other speaker, that in case you start late also, you should end on time. So let us just jump into the share screen, if possible.
Yeah, it's possible, sir.
Yeah. Is it visible now?
Not yet, sir.
Where are we?
Yes, sir. It's visible now, sir.
Visible now? Okay.
Yes. Uh,
Okay, no?
yes, sir.
Okay, fine. Okay, this is the first time I'm speaking to Calcutta. I wish it was physical, but let it be. This is better than nothing. And I apologize for the speed, but there's some time which we have to cover. These are few of the books which I have written, and as you see, the minister has holding my book, which is just a wish photograph. It is not an actual photograph, and have contributed to the study material of our institute. Just a little trivia here. I'm on the YouTube. If you do NPT Banking Space channel, you will find some of my clips over there. And this is regarding last year as of the verification of top 10 advanced accounts as per the new LFR format, which is still continuing. And if you see show more here, you will get a link to a MS Word file, which you can download, adjust, change, whatever. What I'm claiming is that the top 10 borrower accounts with the information which the bank branch gives you, just by ticking it will not suffice, and the peer review will require something more. Besides, this checklist I've made for the advances is such that by merely making a checklist, you will be able to find out problem accounts, especially fraud accounts and accounts which are likely to be NPA in the near future, and which will save your career and mine, because when you get affected as a professional colleague, even I get affected. Yeah, this is a timeline of the branch audit. We attended Sabrina SEP for 5 minutes after lunch, appointment letter. We visit branch if it's nearby and he refuses to give you MR. And please record that, because that will be good in case that we can claim that he has withheld information, and that is why we could not find out. And from April 1 to April 7, audit is done because we are under pressure always. And then LFAR took most time because LFAR has increased a lot. Thankfully, it's increased a lot because there's compulsory we have to report certain things. And I find that is much better. And then on June 6, your fraud is unearthed and it's reported by the press, and your branch is among the 8 affected. What will happen in such a case? It is one of the fictional news which I'm just showing you. In such a case, the first thing that will happen is your neighbor will get very angry because he has deposited money for his child's marriage, and that he is able to withdraw only 10,000 rupees. And there is no way you can tell him that you are just a balance sheet auditor, a statutory auditor, and not a concurrent one where you have a lot of time to unearth any fraud. And therefore, this is how the society looks at it. That is why my presentation here is there are some frauds you have to just invest 20 seconds. I'm not even saying 10 minutes. 20 seconds to 20 minutes maybe. The fraud cases are very high, 98% over advances. And if you see that the larger frauds, the average time lag was around 63 months, which is around 5 years. So minimum 5 statutory audits or auditors have not been able to find it. This is the answer I get whenever I find something that so many auditors before you have not found out. So how can you find out? What are you there to find out? So I said, okay, there is somebody who is called a discoverer, and I happen to be that. Banks lose around 1.6 crore every hour to cheating and forgery. That means in a full day seminar, around 10 crores are lost by the time we are discussing things. And this is not what should be done. Thankfully, we are a little better than our neighboring countries, but we still need to improve to reduce frauds at least. Now, this is a question I would ask the participants of how many of you verify cash during statutory audit. Luckily, in my last live session, 90% said they verify, 10% did not say anything about it. And then out of that, I asked them that what do you verify against? So the answer was mostly verify against the book which the cashier shows them that this is this closing balance. But few of them did say that they verify against the general ledger account. What I would like you to invest is just 2 seconds here, is that please call for a special passbook or the book which is for dual control cash utilization. You are aware that the cash has the bank has a safe where most of the cash is kept, but all cash is not taken out. Only what it required for the daily operations is taken out by the cashier. And this is in the dual control book where the accountant signs and the cashier signs that I have withdrawn 50,000 rupees or 5 lakh rupees or 50 lakh rupees. They sign. They don't sign the denomination. They sign the total over there. So just call for this. Call for this, and you see from even the cashier's small cash book how much is being paid. If you notice that around 12 lakhs is being withdrawn or taken out, or 15 lakhs, they normally take out in round figures. 15 lakhs is withdrawn, and 12 lakhs and 13 lakhs or 11 lakhs is being paid out as cash withdrawals during the day, I think that is fine. But when I see a situation where 2 crores is withdrawn from the dual control and only less than even 20 lakhs is being paid throughout the days of all the days of the month, my question to the cashier was, why are you doing this? The simple and the only answer he can give is, I do not want to disturb the busy accountant from his work, and therefore I do this in case there is a big withdrawal. Then he will give names of certain clients who may withdraw, may in the future. There is no such past record of that. In such cases, what happens is that cashier takes charge at the beginning of the day. His friends or list of his own personal clients come to the counter at the beginning of the day. He hands over the cash without even recording the transaction in the books of the bank, because these people either have no account or they don't have money in the account. Then those friends go to the market and do a business for the day and come back. This is called market financing fraud. So by taking 2 seconds of checking up the dual control passbook versus the withdrawals of the day, you will land up with a possibility, a very high possibility of fraud. This is a red flag. This red flag is not mentioned in the RBI circular. I have a lot of red flags in addition to what the RBI circular says, because that is restricted to advances only. Although a number of audits are there, and yet there are frauds. This is the slide. The frauds of advances, since 90% are in advances, they are done either by the borrowers, which is premeditated, or activated after bad performance. You please note that after the COVID lockdown, all businesses have been affected, and for the fraud to get activated after bad performance, this possibility is very high for this March. So please be careful. Sometimes by accidental error of the staff, they find that certain things can happen. Like they find out that in dormant account, they can make a transaction because the system, the CVS system, which is designed to stop them from making a voucher and seeking authorization only of manager, that is at a low level of error. There is a system of high level of error and low level of error at the software level, and the user can set it. If it is accidentally set at low level of error, then all they have to do is press yes key or some other key, any other key, and it goes ahead without insisting on this control. If you find this is there, then you have to say and qualify that the internal control is weak. How will you find that? You have to insist on the tell the manager that I want to make an entry. Please make an entry at the clerk level, at the counter clerk level of in a dormant account, and show me that whether the error is stopping physically any processing of the transaction. The authorization may or may not be asked, but if it proceeds at that counter level, then you have a problem of the internal control. At the pre-sanction level itself, the fraud starts. So subsidized loans which the government announced are taken by people who are ineligible. And of course, the bankers feel they have done a great job by ensuring that a rich person has got a loan, but this defeats the very purpose of the government. Then the wrong facts in the evaluation note. What happens mostly in the group accounts is that they already have some accounts with the branch, and they have higher exposure in a new account. Whatever the industry is new today, normally they do that. We find that in large accounts they do that. For example, today artificial intelligence is the new field, so they'll have a artificial intelligence company which is floated, or they will have virtual reality company which is floated, and they'll borrow against that. They'll not have any expertise in that. They already are doing textile business and they have no expertise in this. So what happens is that the branch writes a note on the performance of the accounts, and they have to write that the other accounts are in order. And when we see a group exposure, we notice in 100% of the cases that the accounts are not in order at the time of writing the note. If they were made in order, they have to tell the head office or the zonal office, whoever is under the discretionary power to sanction the loan, that this was not in order for so many months, brought in order, and the reasons thereof. If you keep the sanctioning authority blind or actually mislead, this is a fraud on part of the branch. I am aware that the other offices have access to the records, but this is a system which is set over the years, and therefore they still ask for this. Then value of the asset to be financed. This is one of the major ones where the account becomes an NPA. Only then we find out. There are certain general assets like property, where you can look at the location of the property and find the market value which is available to you from the public forum. Or gold. Gold is very difficult because it's already sealed, but there's nothing much you can do over there. Approach to detect frauds. This is a short form which I have only created. Find the red flags. That is anything that disturbs you, that's a red flag, but review it. Sometimes it may not be correct. And then analyze them for abnormality. Is there something high risk which is being done or lost to the bank or something which is going on? And share the understanding with the management. Sometimes you may be misled. For example, bill purchase. There was one case where bills were purchased every month with round figures, 1 lakh, 1 lakh, 1 lakh. So obviously anybody would say that this is not correct. How can everything be in round figures? And the last figure was something different. The reality was that the relationship between the vendor and the borrower was that he will supply, let's say, 13 lakhs or 12 lakh, 13 lakhs per annum. And over the month, he was just making a round figure things, bills which were purchased. And now the amount of in the long run, maybe over the year, this may not be wrong, but each bill has to be seen for the value. And still, I had to say that the value is not representative of the bill which is there, because he may have supplied 80,000 and taken money for 1 lakh. So that is also not correct. Although over the year, it may be not wrong, but this is not correct. Then document your findings. That is, if you are able to do screenshots, please do that as much as you can, and statutorily report them. Don't fall under the pressure of plea. You can report them on a separate letter and give it to me, and then I will, don't worry, you are safe. I will sign the copy, etc. If you don't statutorily report to them, the central statutory auditor is ignorant about the whole thing. Now, in post-sanction, when sanctions are done at the zonal office or head office, they are on a certain terms of security. These terms of security, that is normally registration of security, etc., these are not done at the branch level or postponed substantially. And if they are not done at the branch level, by the time you have gone over there, please do report them, because this is a term of sanction which is not agreed to by the bank itself. And the branch is unnecessarily conniving with the borrower. Or they substitute a collateral if this of a lower level than what is offered to the sanctioning authority. If this is done without the information or permission of the sanctioning authority, again, this smells very bad and smacks of fraud. The end of use of funds are not monitored or knowingly diverted. This is major issues. Most of the frauds occur to that. All you have to do is find out when the last inspection is, and by ABC analysis or largest 10 borrowers, you just find out what the inspection report says so. This is just a classification of advances which I have mentioned. Drawing a sanction limit, drawing power, and drawing limit. You are aware of the differences. Let's not go into that. Well, by this time, I've already exceeded my closing hours, closing time. Now, NPA software, most of the banks have. Let me just jump into that. So we tend to trust them. I leave it up to you, but I would test check a few of the NPA accounts. A standard account which is not picked up by the system. Now, NPA manipulation is what you will be finding out mostly at this year end. Temporary advance will be given across the year end, or is repeated temporary advance given. Then manager's last point, manager discretion of 10% above the sanction level. They feel that this is given as a rule and it is given for 12 months. One manager called me up, one GM called me up and asked me for help, saying that the statutory auditor is classifying all the advances as NPA because they are 10% above the sanction limit. So I said, for how long are they above the sanction limit? He said, full year. Now, this 10% above the sanction limit is meant for a temporary purpose only, and it has to be ratified by the sanctioning authority. If the sanctioning authority is the manager, obviously he has the authority to do that. But normally, this 10% above is by the authority or sanctioning authority, which is above his level. And this has to be reported, and it has to be given only for a temporary purpose, much lesser than 3 months. They transfer to a new account. When new loan accounts are opened, you have to find out whether there have been any connections with the old account. And in case of corporate, naturally, the names are the same. You have to take a jotting. Please ask for a jotting before you start the branch audit, jotting of last year and a jotting of February of this year. You may or may not get of February, of March, and then you convert them. They will give you a text file. You convert them into Excel format, and then you classify, and then you compare with the names. If not, if the names are common, naturally, then this is an old account which is gone to new. And in case of proprietary account, the names keep on changing, but what does not change is the PAN number. So if you take the master file dump, then you'll realize that the master file dump of last year and this year also remains the same in case of new account, and therefore the PAN number is changing. What I suggest how to spot the red flag is do some ratio analysis, and your borrow accounts have to be analyzed, and check all. Don't forget, just take the, don't forget the bills purchased. And new accounts transferred from old account. Some of the bankers have the audacity to do this. And we are over here. CC account is closed not without cash, sometimes with cash, because bill discount or bill purchase is done. In case of export, for a packing credit, it's closed by bill purchase or bills for collection. So that is a normal thing. But what happens later on is what you must see. There's CC accounts which are overdrawn more than 80 days. The panic starts over here. So you please ask for the issues about the account, that is loan installments more than 2 as on December, not on March. So you will get it anyway. But what is manipulated is that between January to March. And casual bill discount, please dig deep over here, because there is 80% chance that there is no formal sanction, and therefore this will not be paid. The casual bill discount is only for a single or 1 or 2 occasions over the year. But if this goes on, they keep on telling us that it is given at a very high rate of interest, and therefore my branch income goes up. But income goes up at what risk is what I ask. Credit entries, normally or erroneous credit entries are passed to ensure that the checks are passed, and from one account which is cash rich to another account which is not cash rich. And these errors corrections, if you are able to analyze per operator, that is through the system itself. I am not asking you to do manually. So the system itself error correction, then it's good. Exception reports are too detailed. Then the window dressing for targets, advances or deposits. You are aware that in case of deposits, every 6 months they ask the people not to withdraw so that the balance will go up, etc. So advances to deposits ratio you see, and how it is going on. In case it's highly improved, then how it has gone for the improvement. How much more time can you give me?
Sir, you can continue till 6, sir.
Okay, thank you. Then the last, I mentioned over here, new scheme or risky borrower at the last minute. All advances, all new advances in the month of March, please go through with a magnifying glass. Don't even wear just your spectacles. Wear a magnifying glass and go. And I guarantee you, you will come out with a lot of issues. They'll say some documentation is pending, that is pending, it is given at the last minute. Why are they interested in giving in the last minute? Is the total borrowing amount is to be increased, so that the NPA percentages of what of advances. Now, totally, if you increase the total, then if your NPA is remaining the same, the percentage goes down. So they are interested in that. And if these accounts are normally risky and they'll become NPA next year anyway, and that you and I know. So might as well report it today. And you won't believe it, 26th of March was one of the date on which my advance was given. In one account, I found out that bill purchase was done. What? Capital goods. They said the bill was raised on the company, so we purchased it. But you raise bills on a company which you purchase are for the trading of that or manufacturing of that material which is being done by the manufactured by that company, not for setting up of a new factory. You can't have a bill purchase for a foundation laying. You can't have bill purchase for cement when it is not dealing in cement. All these manipulations come in the month of March. The target as a okay. In case of deposits, when they have to do deposit increase every half year to see whether the target, they bend over backwards to get the deposits, and the KYC is where they'll get caught, because these are always the unaccounted money which comes in, and some the people whose documents are taken are different. The target achievement of advances. Priority sector in metro cities. I've seen in luxury areas of metro cities advances of agriculture which are given. The reason given is that the farmer or the rich person who has got a farm stays here. So my question is, how will you monitor if a crop advance is given? Who will go and see the crop? You can't do this. And these are normally the manipulated advances, and these are not going to come back. As I mentioned, a very big statement, I'm saying March disbursement are usually congenital NPA. By their birth itself, they are NPA. This is a very strong statement I'm making. Please note that a person qualified as much as you is making such a strong statement, so don't ignore it. Then a gold loan. If you see this gun kind of shape, I'm just trying to introduce this instrument to you. It can penetrate through cloth and find out the metallic content of the security which is sitting in the branch. And this is available with the banks normally at the head office. So you can insist in case you have a problem of what is going on. You have branches with gold loan given, admitted. But if you have branches with 100% gold loan only, you have a problem. So we had two branches which are far flung, and only gold loan was given on the plea that this is a priority sector advance, and therefore we are 100% secure. Then I looked at the name of the valuer. The name of the valuer was the same. He said, in our place, he is the only government authorized valuer. So I said, in your place, yes, but what about the other branch? And these two branches were such, they were given to me as possible punishment posting because I had found out something in the bank earlier. And I don't mind at all. Wherever you go, I have a policy that room is over there. They can, jhadu marne ke liye bolo, main bhi jhadu marunga bank mein. Whatever a bank tells me to do, I do. So these two places were where the public transport, only one ST bus was going per day. And over there, in these two branches, which are far flung from each other, the same valuer, so this was suspect. So I insisted, if you do this before before my signature, it will be better that get some other valuer and do it. Open it up in front of the customer, of the borrower, and do it. So instead of that, they bought this gun, and they found out that the item which was secured, given as security, was 80% brass. It is not 50% gold or 30% gold, or just 20% that maybe even the gold plating. Then target achievement of advances, ineligible lending people, as I mentioned to you earlier. Then loan melas of the past, which are not there today. Loan melas, it is really now there are certain places like this. Tri-party agreements are needed but not made. I talk to you about the Siddhivinayak lotting. These two cases. Priority sector lendings. What happens is that small advances are given 5,000, 10,000, or maybe even just 1 lakh per borrower, and a lot of documentation has to go through. So instead of that, they form a cooperative society. Don't worry, and each of the member with the cooperative society will look after it, look after the documentation, and give it to the bank. That is what they assure the bank. So the bank is very happy. In Siddhivinayak logistics, the same thing happened. Definition whether we are supposed to be a watchdog or a bloodhound. Now the society is asking us to do something else. Let me talk about the case of Siddhivinayak Logistics. You are aware that the subsidized truck loans are given up to 5 trucks only. I think it was 5 trucks when I last saw it. And therefore, this company said, what? We have a lot of business and you have a requirement of priority sector. So what will I do is that I will get 200, 2,000, whatever the high number is, drivers. With only 1 truck advance you give, their income is assured by me. Then he writes on paper that he will be giving this much load per annum, etc., etc. And the truck advance was given. And also on top of that, he made luxury buses and all that. This is just to induce the bankers. So what he did was, this is this cycle of fraud. This is also just my invention, so it is not something which you can find on the net. He initiated by financing trucks with 2,802 driver documents were forged. They didn't exist at all. And then advances were given. Since they were forged, his signature only he could take. And he started servicing the loan. But problem of servicing is that if trucks were purchased and actual business was done, then possibly there will be no problem. But with money in your hand, so much coming in so easily, you naturally are induced to spend it. And therefore, the servicing of interest or loan went down. And therefore, it was found out. So bank was happy at that point that target achievement of priority sector advance, and the borrower, he got a low cost loan. There is a cobbler scam which was there in 1995. Big names were there, including the Sheriff of Bombay. They did the same thing, that I'll give you priority sector advance by financing the cobblers, and we will buy their uppers. So in one transaction, one round of transaction, it was service. So until the other advances were given, so the banks were happy to give more money. And then when the money stopped, the borrowers said, not the borrowers, these shoe companies said, no, their quality of work is not good, so we are not paying them. Now the problem is that instead of an auditor finding it out, if you see below, I mentioned the octroi department found out, because in case even the octroi department, which is no longer there, found out they have concessions given to small businessmen, and he suddenly found that there is an increase in leather. Therefore, he investigated what the bank should have done. Where is this leather going? Have they seen the cooperative society where the cobblers are members of? Are there any records of the members? The bank should have seen that. They just sat in their air-conditioned offices and sanctioned it. So the cycle was like this. Bogus cooperatives were done. They took the disbursement, and to cover the track, they paid the society. Society paid the bank for one or two just cycles, and finished it. The idea was that initial idea was that they could take high value of octroi concession and take the profit and then service the bank. Advances to deposit ratio, this is a must which you must see. Take an ordinary situation. You can find this out by letters of credit outstanding. Letters of credit unsupported by sanctioning borrowing facility is rare. I'm saying a polite word, rare, it should not happen. Because at the time of the payment of the LC, I think Sandeep Welkar has mentioned this, the devolvement of LC. So without sanction of facility, this is not done. what happened was, you are aware that there are certain branches which are near the city, but as far as the posting goes, they are outside they are in rural areas. So there was this kind of a branch which was in technical rural area, but near the city, and all the people used to leave at 4:45 instead of 5:30. So one day when everybody had left, and at 5:15 or so, one man walks in. The peon stops him and says, only the manager is there. He said, don't worry, I have to talk to the manager. He tells the manager, I want to import something. He said, I cannot give you import finance. I'm a rural branch. He said, I don't want finance, but I want a note from you saying that on due date I will pay. He says, well, the note you're telling me is a definition of a letter of credit. Again, I said, I cannot give you this. Therefore, you go to some other branch or other bank. So he says, don't worry. There is no risk over here because I'm giving you 100% cash margin. As Sandeep also mentioned, if it's 100% secured, then there is a big problem. So, but I think he did not, that manager has not heard this lecture because it was in the past. So the manager thought about this 100% cash margin and said, okay, let us see how much he's talking about. So he asked him, what amount are we talking about? He said 500 crores. He almost fell off his chair. With 500 crores, 25 years of the advances of the target of the bank was achieved. And with 500 crores, maybe 18 years target of the deposits are achieved. So he said, I cannot do this. Let's go to the regional office. They went to the regional office. The regional manager heard them and said, fine. The regional office said, don't worry, it is parked in your branch, and then make sure that the deposit comes first. So deposits came first. LC was issued. Money was sitting in the bank. After 3 months, when the LC became due, he was not there. So what they did was they took the money of the borrower, which was already with them, and paid the LC. In a normal physical seminar, I would ask the participants to think and say, where is the problem in such a case? Borrower's money is only paid. The answer is that the money is paid for absolutely wrong reasons. Not the country is at a loss because this was the fodder scam. What was supposed to be imported was fodder. What was actually imported was thermocol. And when the auditor also went with the officer of the branch first time to see the address of the borrower, it was the second floor of a godown which had only a godown on the ground floor. Nothing else was there. When a new borrower comes, what is your KYC of the borrower? Not just paper. If he is going to import something, where is he going to keep it? This is all the questions which the branch should have asked. Now, if this branch was yours, you had a very, very, very big problem. You understand? So in case of the 20 large borrowers which are there, 20% of the advance, or 10 large borrowers, moment you fill up my checklist, which I mentioned to you earlier, it's NPT banking and space channel, NPT banking together. Over there, you'll find one of those things, clips which are there. We have reached 6 o'clock. So I think, unfortunately, we'll have to end.
So we are waiting for our next session speaker, Lokesh Gupta ji. He has not joined in yet.
Okay.
Continue till 5 minutes more, sir. We're connecting with him.
Okay.
If you have something important, you can discuss, sir.
Yeah. I'm trying to go back to this. Is there? So how do you verify, get the evidence and have the red flag, Inspection report of the importer, you'll find that there is none. Sanction of the head office, they may or may not be there. Then the branch is not authorized to make this kind of advance. Kahan se aa raha hai ye? RBI, they are flouting the RBI license rules of foreign exchange. So this you have to mention. Absolutely. And the action taken after the devolvement of LC. LC is devolved. It's part and parcel of normal business, maybe. But what did you do? Until you went along with the officer, they have not done anything. So what is the follow-up done on the stressed asset? Nothing. First of all, this is not stressed. They'll say, because it is that person's money. Mera paisa thodi hai. That kind of a thing. So it was a new party. State of the importer were not verified. No pre-sanction inspection was done. Financial papers were not collected because of the cash margin. Arey, kuch to balance sheet hai na. So then we are here at accommodating of clients illegally or for self. benefits, clients benefit, the staff benefits directly or indirectly. कुछ दिवाली ज़्यादा मिलती है, whatever. And they do the benefiting by doing cash flow adjustment, or the debits which are stayed away, the charges, etc., are kept pending accidentally. There is this, schools and tuition classes and all that, they take fees in advance. So they are cash rich in the beginning of the year, whereas wine shop is always at cut to cut how much they have to pay to the supplier. So what happens is the school fees get mixed up with wine shop. Mixed up means what? Accidental entry. As I mentioned earlier, error. So there is no enough cash to be serviced by the wine shop. Don't worry, I'll just transfer from here or something like that. And then they do the transfers and they say, oh, wrong transfer, and they change it. Then facility granted on the reverse of check. We saw this atrocious thing called packing credit, when a check of the exporter for the CC account comes to a clearing. Now, thankfully, there is centralized clearing, and there is not enough balance of the drawing power of the borrower. Then what they used to do, they had a rubber stamp. This is to put on the reverse of the check saying packing credit sanctioned. What nonsense is this? I took a snap of this and showed to the GM. I said, have you ever seen a packing credit being granted on a rubber stamp? Packing credit is granted on the order of the importer. I also know it's an open secret that the importer's letterheads are sitting over here with the exporter only. And he only signs. I know it's an open secret, but at least follow the document formality at least. Then you have a check. Check received in clearing, refer to the drawer. There's no money over there. They write over here, refer to the drawer. And they don't post it. But they don't even give it back to the drawer. Letter of understanding, no need to discuss this Nirav Modi case, because no longer letter of understandings are issued. Loan installments not collected from other operational accounts of the borrower. When the CC is at the limit, they conveniently forget to recover the loan installments. So the loan account, if it is already there normal, then for the next few days or 1 month or 2 months, accidentally they don't collect it. But today it is very difficult because of the standing instruction, and this is done at the data center level. Interest not charged under the manual case I had, where they say that while turning the pages we could not see. But in the CBS environment also it is possible. Please note here, I'm showing you the interest which is debited in the account, and the particulars below here will show that it is collected for 2 months. This was an accidental case due to the system operation of processing of the data center. The data center used to do some manual intervention, and that during the manual intervention this happened. And when we found it out, it became a big scandal, and a lot of reprimand letters were also given, because we assume that once the data center takes over, things will be hunky-dory and very nice. In Bank of Maharashtra, UPI payments were made without having balance. This is a public knowledge, therefore I mentioned the name. I will discuss what happened over here technically, but what you need to do as auditor is just ask them, show me the reconciliation done of UPI in case it is affected where you are doing the audit, or where you are doing the audit as an auditor, if Visa or MasterCard or RuPay card is also transacting over there, just show me the reconciliation. Reconciliation should be done on a daily basis. Outstanding should not happen in such accounts more than 1 day to 7 days as per the policy of the bank. But mentally, bank may say 7 months, but I'm not going to say 7 months. Not exceeding 7 days. Now, in Bank of Maharashtra, if this UPI reconciliation was done on a daily basis, this fraud wouldn't have reached this level at all. At all. You can't do reconciliation on a monthly basis with such agencies, because you are not a small trader who is having an account with a bank, and he can do it on a monthly basis, bank reconciliation. Here, a lot of money is flowing. You don't even know what money is flowing because this is done through technology. There is no sanctioning done by a person. It is done by verification by a software. As an auditor, your questioning is simple. Show me the reconciliation and the items which are pending. Over there, you'll come to know what is pending. If there's no reconciliation done for a period which is uncomfortable for you, kindly mention as a qualification of lack of internal control, lack of control. Just do whatever wording you have. And because if anything of this sort happens tomorrow, you have pointed it out. NPCI it's born by due to the by such high level of banks. What UPI does, it asks for approval to pay to the banker, to the target bank. The target bank checks if there is sufficient balance with the database. If it is approved, it goes back. Response time is 13 seconds, and the number of times it will ask is 3 times. And now they made sure that the debit entry is passed first and then the credit entry. Now, because UPI and all that, the servers are separate. The software is separate, and therefore they ensure that this is being done. Our duty is just to seek the reconciliation. Now, Cosmos Bank, again, there was an issue. I will just again tell you the fraud in detail, but again, the answer is the same. As an auditor, that is statutory auditor, again, this is a Visa or a MasterCard will be affected here, and reconciliation is all you need to ask. Are they doing the reconciliation? So for this is a normal card operation. I go to the petrol pump, I swipe the card, petrol pump owner swipes it, and his bank is informed. Bank then says, what card is this? Visa. So it goes to the Visa switch. Visa switch goes to the banker of the card issuer, and they say they get the payment, and the banker recovers from me either at the month end or if it's a debit card immediately. If just a credit card without a bank account, then it will at the monthly level. So what went wrong here was the card was swiped. Visa switch tried to contact the bank, but what happened is somebody placed a proxy server in between. I have shown you a proxy server as a physical server, but it will not be something physical. It may just be a wire which is being diverted or signal which is being interrupted. As you understand by my showing you this chart, that it cannot be done by a person outside the system. It has to be done by a person in the whole loop. That is either the Visa switch or the bank. So what this proxy server did was, it started sending back an approval message. Don't worry, yes, pay, without even looking at the bank account. And no information was passed to the bank. The Cosmos Bank did not have any information. It just kept on saying yes. And naturally, the Cosmos Bank did not know who to recover from. So today, even today, the bank does not know who to recover from. It is their loss. This is a very sad fact. But then Visa is raising a bill on them, saying that this much amount is due from you. So they should know immediately, who have to recover from? Why is this not being recorded at my end? They can stop in a day. But they didn't stop in a day. So reconciliations have to be done on a daily basis. All you got to do is prove to me you're doing on a daily basis and show to me the items which are there. So this item, in case you're doing Cosmos Bank, will be sitting over there. If it is sitting over there for a long period of time, you have to say it can't remain in reconciliation. You write it off or do something or provide for it. Now, another important thing is when third-party software is taken by the CBS, they keep on saying that all these software are very costly from the CBS supplier. They are charging me 25 lakhs when I can get it at 2.5 lakhs somewhere else. So this kind of software, what they do is they communicate with the CBS by TXT. The TXT file are, in my opinion, very unsecure because the TXT file can be manipulated. I can interrupt the TXT file and then change the amount and then let it go through the CBS. Now there was a bank where 5 years they were telling me, I was telling them this is insecure reporting. So they said, TXT mein kya kar sakte hai? What can we do? What can we do? I said, I'm not here to teach you. You have to find a solution. Luckily, they got a technical guy and he gave a solution of control fields. So in case it is manipulated, it will not be posted. Warning will be given. And another question I asked them is, suppose you do it twice. Suppose foreign exchange transaction is done, 100 transactions are done. And suppose I process, because the TXT file processing is manually, activated manually. So in case I process it twice, what will happen? It will process twice. They said, yes, there's no control. Direct database links are safer. So what you do is just find out which other software are linking to the CBS and what control do they have. Again, the word reconciliation comes in. For foreign exchange, for example, I asked them that what are the controls you have for ensuring that the transactions done during the day are posted over there. So they say that, okay, fine, I have 100 transactions, this is whatever. Then I asked them what currencies are there exposed to. And I found out that US dollar and euro are the mostly the ones. Now, what happens is that you know, and I know something which the software vendor does not know, is that the valuation of the currency. Zambia will have a currency which is devalued totally. Japan has, Italy has. Now, these currencies are not used, does not mean they are not popular, but they are used. So there was a transaction in yen which came, and you are aware that TXT files are running into columns. The moment the column of the amount came, how much yen, the whole column got shifted because the number of digits went up. When we had last visited Japan, the taximeter was starting at 2,500 yen, not 25 rupees as we talking today, but 2,500. Now 2,500, therefore the amount which is required for a business transaction are running into billions. Hundreds of billions, not just billions, which they had assumed for US dollar and euro. What happened is that since the line went shifted, the column shifted, the computer could not read the transaction. Computer could not read the transaction. It was not posted in the CBS. And then the horrifying conclusion of the words which I mentioned to them, your books are not representative of transactions of the branch. I'll repeat. Your books are not representative of transactions of the branch due to this one transaction. So it is a big, very big control loss which you have, a very big accounting loss which you have, a very big audit qualification which I have today. Can you then provide for it? Whatever rectification is rectification done post, because this is not shown as a liability or an asset both. Because the transaction is being done, but it is not sitting in the CBS. Luckily for them, the year it had not passed, and therefore it was done before that. I'm sorry, I had this kind of an interaction thing that with a participant, that in case floating 14 decimal point chip is doing it accurately, so at least 2 decimals, can it do correctly? The answer is that would be absolutely wrong in assuming this, because it is done by a person. Look at this, my letter only of it addressed to me by my banker from whom I have taken housing loan. I had kept a semi account over there, and it was used for servicing of the loan by standing instruction. And at the end of the year, I get this letter. Obviously, with this letter read by my wife, she said, "You are a very bankrupt fellow. You are not able to even service a house loan. What nonsense you are doing, etc., etc." Forget the amount of the penal interest. The principal was at stake. So I asked them. So they answered saying that it was a mistake. What mistake are you talking about? This is a software from Infosys. That's what I asked them. But they kept quiet. But I know what happened. I can just hypothesis is that installment is taken on an anniversary date. Let us say 14th of the month, my anniversary date is there. If 14th of the month is a holiday, like a Sunday or a bank holiday, then it is taken on the next day. Now, if my balance in the saving account was available on the 14th, you didn't take it, is not my fault. Therefore, they should have a as of date. That is, although they have taken on the 15th, it is charged as of, that is for interest purpose, it is will be considered on the 14th. This has to be written in the system. Please understand, it is not easy for the system to understand what is a holiday and therefore that's not my mistake, etc. You see, certain software like the one which is supplied by Infosys, and please note, I don't like that software, so I'm not promoting it. But the reality is like this. If I come to your office tomorrow, you will ask me, would you like tea? I would say yes. The only option or complication I will say is, please give me without sugar. But the software will ask you, which tea do you want? Do you want Assam tea? Do you want Darjeeling tea? Or you want Nilgiri tea? Secondly, they'll ask you whether you want green tea or regular tea. Then they'll keep on asking whether you want a brown sugar, that is sugar itself, not the narcotics, brown sugar or a regular sugar or a sugar free, which brand. You know, you have to answer all this. Now, what happens is the people who are opening the account or making the parameters, they become lazy, they don't answer all this, and such things happen. If a computer can collect extra interest, can it pay extra interest? When the next speaker comes, please tell me, I'll then stop. If you see the top half.
Side, I'll let you know, sir.
Yeah, okay, fine.
We have a few questions also. He was expected to join by 6:15, but we don't find him yet. Might be some network issues.
Okay.
We will continue by that time, sir.
Okay. So if you see, the first half is created at the time of making the deposit. That is, it's a cumulative deposit. 4,93,923 will be the maturity amount. This section which is there, it is created at the operation of the account. That is, every quarter the interest is being credited, and the end amount should match 4,96,664 instead of 4,93,923. Why was there mismatch? Because of double interest provision here. Why there was a double interest provision, nobody can answer, except that this is a software maintenance issue. While doing the maintenance, somebody touched it over here and it was processed twice. How we found this out, I'll let you know, is that we took the deposits to interest ratio of the previous year versus this year. This ratio analysis is not only for the borrowers, but for the auditors also, is what I would like to emphasize over here. And we found out that this ratio is something wrong. When we mentioned this to the manager as well as the general manager, they said that the rate of interest had gone up, which was so in that time. But I said, we are talking about the ratio and more depositors coming in. Let me check up. So we checked this up. They didn't tell us this. When we found this out, the call was made to the data center, and the data center head said, then don't worry, we found this out, and we have ensured we have a warning given by a single line program that in case this maturity amount is lesser than this, then the voucher shall be prepared only for this. So don't worry, no amount has gone out of the bank, no loss to the bank. Now I asked him, I was sitting in October as a system auditor, and March had already passed, and we are talking about December, therefore January, earlier to the year end. So I said, are you telling me that there's no other rectification done by you? He says, no. This is a person has fractured his arm and all you're doing is giving him Band-Aid. This is a very cruel and very labor-saving answer which he gave me. Therefore, I asked him that if all the deposits matured in March, before March? He said, no, don't be silly, they can't be. I said, then what about the provisions done? The provision done for these amounts which are there, which is higher. I mean, it may not have reached maturity, but the interest provision which is being done, it is enlarged artificially. You have shown your profits less, and therefore you have paid the government less. Now, this is one letter which the GM said, please don't write it in your report, give it to me in a separate letter. I said, if I give it in a separate letter, my license ka problem hai. You don't give to me any appointment later on. And that is what he did. But at least I reported it officially. What happened later on is, here we're talking about self-help by the staff, either cash by giving artificial allowances. This is very difficult to find out during the statutory audit for paucity of time. That is all. But the other disgruntled staff will tell you that he has been getting officiating allowed for an officer when he was not officiating. So you can dig deep over there. Then loans and interest rates, they manipulate sometimes for their friends, and then they show them less. And cashiers abuse market financing, as I told you, I showed you earlier. Here, look at this. Interest amount is shown as 0. Could be an accident because the account was opened and ended on the same day. The account was not operational, luckily, but such things can happen that the interest amount can be 0. Therefore, I request you to take a report of interest applied report. Interest applied report, take a soft copy. That is the interest applied at the end of the month. Take any sample month you want, not just March. Take February and March and put it in your Excel file, convert the TXT into Excel, and then sort it according to the least to the highest, and find out all these zero accounts will come over there. In case you take CC, it is quite possible that the CC is in credit and therefore it is charged zero interest, which you can test check, or you can check over there the closing balance is always given in the same line. Or you can even test check that only on that day it is credit, or whether throughout the whole month it is credit. In case of loan, it cannot be zero, that you and I know, because loan is sanctioned. So here it's quite possible that it's zero because loan is sanctioned but not disbursed. Fine. But this is a red flag which you are checking, and you can check up by, as I said, interest applied report. In case you find it is less, then you take the interest product report if you want any particular. Now, access to bank backend is by the programmer only. And normally what happens is, this happened in this case which I'm discussing, happened in TPA, where it can happen to anybody. The programmer converted a 2,200 check into 12,200. He used to do whatever. What happens is that in small places, you have the houses which are opened up by the housewives for lunch and dinner, or for the bachelors or who are staying away from their houses, and you get home cooked food. I also prefer that, even if I go there for 7 days. So in such a place, a programmer of the bank who was handling around 5 branches, he was staying over there. He used to go in the morning, and that lady used to come to the bank to withdraw some 2,200 was her compensation for direct marketing, and she used to withdraw. So he used to started telling her, why are you coming all the way to the bank? You just give me a check, just write the amount, I'll write the rest. So she used to just write the amount and sign. And she should not be careful over here. And he used to write whatever figure he wanted before or after. Now, what will happen is that the lady this account will not have enough balance also for this. But the cashier will see the balance. Without balance, how can cash be paid? Being a programmer, he used to go 4 years prior, when the accounts were transferred to a computer, and change the opening balance of this account, so that this amount will be cleared. Now the cashier cannot remember every borrower or every customer, and then say, "Oh, this person cannot have this much amount." He cannot say that. So cashier just looks at the balance. If it is there, the person can withdraw. He took enough care to take the signature of the programmer to ensure that he said, no, I have to take your signature. Whoever I pay the cash, you have to pay. I have to take a signature. So although the signature of the customer was on the reverse, the person he had paid is this person. So I had the proof. And this is what he had done. The amounts don't, and then he used to change the amount to the original so that she would not know what is being debited. So the original figures are here. Instead of 2,200, 22,200. Instead of 500, 5 was changed to 3 and zeros were added. This sort of things he did. How he got caught was, after the system went from the total branch TBA to core banking, the other kind of fraud which it did of deposit manipulation could not be done. Sometimes there are negligence of the bank in the procedure of internal control compromise. In case you find this, then you please report non-maintenance of registers or process of approvals. The Punjab Bank case, the discretionary powers of the bank and the credit policy of the bank, if it is not followed, is a very gross error which is there, and this has to be reported by you. And computer related. What happens is that computer has its own formality. You and I don't know that. Sometimes accounts are closed by making the balances zero. But by making the balance zero, account is not actually closed, it is available over there. It's still operational, which is dangerous for frauds. And then KYC, sometimes it is taken but not updated into the system. So you have a lot of accounts without any KYC as far as the system goes. And stock and debtors value, which is mentioned in the system, is not updated on time, or is updated with a faulty date, because date as of dates are permitted over here, and they don't take the date stamp of the operation of that account at that time. I had kept for 45 minutes, so I think I finished over here. You have some questions, I believe. Let me see the questions, please.
I would just repeat the questions.
Yeah.
One of the question is from Ajay Nanda. Kindly explain on some important ratios needs to be checked in probable fraud cases.
Yes. Firstly, check the ratio of what income, what department constitutes the main income of the branch. And is it in your mind normal for the location of the branch? If you are located near the sea, so we have fishermen. If you are not located near the sea, then you don't have fishermen. So therefore, you have to see what kind of advances are being given. So which department, which priority sector, non-priority sector. So then you can analyze which department constitutes how much of the advance. So advances as well as other income. What constitutes the main income? Normally, the other income should constitute less. If it is more, then you must analyze what is it that gives you more, and then see whether that is correct. As I mentioned, the kite flying fraud, the bill purchase commission, bill purchase interest, that was constituting more or most of the income of the branch, which is not logical. So that is one. Secondly, deposits to advances ratio. That will show you whether the nature of the branch, this is over a time period you have to do, the previous year versus this year, and whether the nature has changed. If the nature has changed substantially, if the branch has gone into advances to ensure their profits other than the interest which is received from the head office, then what compromise has it done? Let me share with you that every banker said that the banking books which are being published, they have art and science of banking. First comes art. So there is no branch, no bank which will do a perfect job of going within the parameters. There will be some compromise done. And I'll make a statement to you today that please do not come out with a single qualification or a MOC. Do not. Bankers want that, but you should not. You will be able to find it easily. It is just like saying that when we all appeared for BCom, did the balance sheet tally in the first attempt, or BCom or even CA? Did anybody's balance sheet tally in the first attempt? Mine did. When mine did, I knew I had made a mistake. I had not done a adjustment entry which was required by me as per the problem. So therefore, in case you come out of this, then please make sure you have double checked. I'm not saying that there cannot be a perfect branch, but this is the rarest of rare case. So these, then you will come up with a lot of other ratios. Please, next question. Can I share the PPT is one of the question. The thing is that, you can see that I have shared with you certain screen dumps. Now that screen dump is in violation of my secrecy with the bank. So that is why I have not been sharing. Question which I have been able to read is fund transfer from CC to deposit account, that is current account of the borrower by the bank branch, in order to show full utilization of the unit. Is it a fraud or a window dressing only? That is the question. Now, for that, it's a very easy question to answer when you define what is fraud. Action done by a person knowing it to be wrong. That would be, since the bank knows that this is wrong, unless they can say that from the, what happens is, unless they can show you otherwise. I told you a case of one of my friend who was he's an agriculturist, and he had to buy from a Kisan credit card, certain thing. But Kisan credit card does not operate on the internet like a debit card or credit card. So what he did was he transferred the funds to the current account, and from the current account, transfer was done through the same bank to the vendor. This the auditor found out and said, if you're transferring to the current account, it is a fraud. If you're transferring a facility, a crop advance facility or something, you are buying seeds, it is a fraud. But the bank itself, the same branch itself was privy to the knowledge of the person who is being paid. So in such a case, transfer to a current account, it should not end over there. What it is being used for, you can ask, and they may also tell you this. How to check whether the master data of the borrower changed subsequent to the opening of the loan account to save it from slipping it in NPA. The master data of the borrower has got nothing to do with the NPA status, because NPA status will be the operation of the account, unless you're talking about the sanction limit. As I mentioned, I don't know whether I mentioned over here, the limit master, there is a limit master which register which also comes out. So that is what you have to ask for. And this limit change register which is there, you can either it is per account or it is global for the branch. You have to ask for that. That is the only way you can ask for, to see whether the limits are changed. Asking for the exception report is of no use. That is your lament as well as my lament, because master data is more important, and I want to also see whether only the address is changed or addresses or something else is changed. Even if address is changed, is somebody checking it up? There is dual control of maker checker, but I hope I've answered that question to you. Limit change register, that is what you have to ask for. Due date of the loan. The due date of the loan in the COVID period, they have to change it, and whether the due date is changed or not. How to check it up easily is very difficult to answer just now. But I think they may have a register, they may have a list somewhere where they have changed it due to the COVID. And as you're seeing 75% or 80% of the advances, you can check up on this. Now, this due date of the loan, I tell you, they'll be due date of the loan will be changed somewhere between December to March. And until then, you will find this account as overdue by 2 installments, at least by December. So you start with December and then check up whether this account is still there in March. And if you check up by using Excel, as I said, use Excel, then you will find out that such accounts are there. We cannot check up UPI reconciliation at the branch level. We cannot. That is the answer. Can we check UPI reconciliation at the branch level? It is done at the central level. In case there is any issue, some complaints by the account customer, then yes, then you have to highlight it over there. Since the complaint is not being addressed, or it is settled or not, that you can check up.
Friends, I think there is no more question. So it's now time to vote of thanks to our learned speaker, Mr. Nitant Tirlokekar. So I would like to thank you, Mr. Nitant Tirlokekar, for sparing his time and giving such a wonderful deliberation. He has enlightened us with his thoughts about fraud, how to detect fraud, and how to take care, and what we need to check, all these things. So with this, I thanks Nitant with from the core of my heart. And now I would like to invite our next speaker, Mr. Lokesh Gupta ji. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. So I think our next speaker is here right now. So there is some late actually, but it's okay. We'll means further our time. So I would like to invite Mr. Sarvesh Chapadia ji to introduce CA Lokesh Gupta ji.
Thank you, Manish ji. Hello, everyone. And it's my pleasure to read the brief profile of CA Lokesh Gupta and welcome him. CA Lokesh Gupta is a partner of Shyam S. Gupta and Company Chartered Accountants and is also a qualified LLB, visa certified professional from ICAI, securing first rank in India, and a certified forensic auditor from ICAI. He has rich experience in audit, which includes conducting bank branch statutory audit for more than 20 years, conducting concurrent stock audit and internal audit of banks, both in public and private space, with experience of more than 16 years. He has conducted audit of specialized units in banks such as currency chest, and conducted audit of outsourced areas in banks such as agencies involved in refilling ATMs, including audit of ATMs itself. He has contributed a lot towards professional development and is contributing as a member of group on certification course on concurrent audit of banks under IASP. He has also contributed as a member of group for revision of manual of statutory audit of banks for the year 2021 under AASP. Presently, he is the faculty for certification course on concurrent audit of banks and has contributed as a member of group formed to prepare a minimum audit checklist for concurrent audit of banks and revision of Ghosh and Jilani committee under PDC. He has his hands-on in areas of FEMA, FCRA, and international tax, in addition to the statutory and concurrent audit of banks, and have been a guest speaker at numerous reputed forums. We welcome you, Lokesh, and look forward to learn a lot from you in this session. Thank you.
Welcome, Lokesh ji.
Survey. Thank you, Naveen
Yes,
ji.
Lokesh ji will be deliberating on audit planning and documentation. So over to Lokesh ji. Yes, sir.
Thank you, Manish ji.
Thank you, sir.
Am I audible?
Yes, sir. You are very much
Thank you,
audible.
Survey ji. I'm so sorry for this late joining in the program. Actually, I was in a deliberation in some other branch, and the things got delayed. I'm still in my car, so it take another 10-15 minutes for me to reach my office. So I thought of joining from the car itself. So thank you so much for your patience in this regard. Now, I really wanted to listen to the earlier speaker also, and this deliberation seemed to be a very unique deliberation on frauds actually. So all congratulations to the team for including such a different topic basically in relation to bank audit, and really helps everybody to get a new flavor. Otherwise what happens is कि हम वही बातें बार बार repeat कर रहे होते हैं, तो sometimes it becomes a boring kind of a thing. Of course we need to understand also and we need to learn new things also. एक क्वेश्चन जो उनके टाइम पे किसी ने पूछा कि जी अगर there is any modification in the master data to save the account from turning NPA, can we do anything about it? So it can be done actually, you know. So master data modification would actually save the account from becoming an NPA. Why? Please understand. So we have a circular of the Reserve Bank of India on automation of these systems, wherein all this downgradation of accounts from a standard account to an account, gradation of account, and all recognition software only, right? So they said there should not be any mental. Manish ji, if you can just
Yes, sir. There is some voice issue, sir. Yes, your voice was not audible.
Just give me a minute, sir.
Okay, sir. No, sir. Your voice is not audible.
His screen has frozen, like some connectivity.
Your screen is visible, but your voice is not audible, sir. He is still there, but his voice is not audible. Yeah, he has come back.
Is the voice audible now, sir?
Yeah, it's okay, better, sir. It
Right.
was audible.
Just another 2-3 minutes. Bear with me. I'll be in my office. Then I think I'll be able to deliberate better. But this
Okay.
is actually circular which came last year, sir, September 14, 2020. Of banks. And the implementation of this circular was to be done by June 30th, 2021. Right? Now, the important point this year is that all the banks have given their confirmations to the RBI that they have done this automation. And what this automation actually means is, if you actually look at the circular, it says that both downgrade and upgrade of account should be done through a straight through process without manual intervention. Right? And the calculation of provision, the income recognition, derecognition shall be system driven. So this is what the RBI is saying, that you are required to do this through a automated process where there should not be a manual intervention. Now, they have said also that the exception may be granted in certain circumstances which are expected to be minimum and temporary. Manual override to have at least 2-level authorization and preferably from a centralized location. And सबसे important इसमें इन्होंने क्या दिया है सर? Such manual override shall have audit trails and subjected to audit by concurrent statutory auditors. तो ये जो आपको इस बार जब आप ऑडिट करने जाएंगे, this is a unique thing which we have to do 100%. कि आपको उनसे इस सर्कुलर का रेफरेंस देते हुए ब्रांच से कंफर्मेशन ऑब्टेन करनी है कि कितने केसेस के अंदर उन्होंने मैनुअल ओवरराइड किया है, कोई एक्सेप्शन ड्रॉ की है, और वो सारे केसेस को आपको ऑब्टेन करके उसको वेरीफाई करना है कि क्या जो वो मैनुअल ओवर रिटर्न किया गया वो एक्चुअली में जेन्युइन था या नहीं था. ठीक है. तो सबसे इंपॉर्टेंट क्या है इसके अंदर कि आपको ये कंफर्मेशन जो लेनी है वो रिटर्न में लेनी है सर. क्योंकि अगर आप ओरली पूछेंगे तो वो हो सकता है आपको ओरली कह दें कि नहीं सर हमने कोई भी मैनुअल ओवर रिटर्न नहीं किया है, क्योंकि ऑडिट ट्रेल मेंटेन करने हैं उनको 3 साल तक, and this is subject to audit. So this is very important. Now what is happening here is the system would automatically identify an account as an NPA. तो अगर आपको किसी अकाउंट को सेव करना है कि सिस्टम उसको आइडेंटिफाई ना करे एनपीए, तो वन ऑफ द वेज कैन बी यू चेंज द मास्टर डाटा ऑफ द अकाउंट इटसेल्फ. जैसे फॉर एग्जांपल आई विल गिव यू एन एग्जांपल हाउ इट कैन बी डन. सो नाउ इफ यू टेल द सिस्टम, इफ यू कि जी आप कैसे सिस्टम को पता चलता है कि अकाउंट एनपीए है, यू टेल द सिस्टम कि भाई ये इस डेट, जैसे इंस्टॉलमेंट की बात करें तो इंस्टॉलमेंट कब से स्टार्ट होगी, कितने अमाउंट की इंस्टॉलमेंट होगी, क्या रेट ऑफ इंटरेस्ट होगा और कितने पीरियड की ये इंस्टॉलमेंट्स हैं. अब सपोज कीजिए इंस्टॉलमेंट आपकी 10,000 रुपए की होनी चाहिए, आपने उसको 1,000 रुपए कर दिया सिस्टम के अंदर, गलती से किया या जानबूझ के किया. The system would identify an account as NPA based upon that recovery of 1,000 only. So even if he has say paid say 2 installment during the year, तो सिस्टम के लिए तो वो एक्स्ट्रा पैसे दे रहा है, क्योंकि उसके लिए तो 20,000 रुपए आ गए, जबकि सिस्टम वाज एक्सपेक्टिंग ओनली 12,000 टू कम. तो दी सिस्टम वुड नॉट आइडेंटिफाई दैट अकाउंट एज एन एनपीए, क्योंकि उसके लिए तो रिकवरी ज्यादा हो रही है, मोर देन व्हाट वाज इवन रिक्वायर्ड, जबकि एक्चुअली दी अकाउंट इज एन एनपीए. तो एक्चुअली में मास्टर डाटा को हम मॉडिफाई कर दें, वो गलती से भी हो सकती है और जानबूझ के भी हो सकती है, तो दी अकाउंट कैन बी सेव्ड फ्रॉम बिकमिंग एन एनपीए. Now, this was one of the questions which somebody asked. Now, the answering the second part of the question कि इसको verify कैसे करें सर, क्योंकि ये बड़ा अच्छा क्वेश्चन उन्होंने पूछा कि इसको verify कैसे करें. इसके अंदर सर 2 चीजें आपको याद रखनी है. जब हम कोई भी सीपीएस सिस्टम के अंदर ऑडिट करते हैं या किसी भी अकाउंटिंग सिस्टम को हम यूज करते हैं, तो कुछ डाटा तो जो है हम अकाउंटिंग सिस्टम के अंदर कोई मेनू ऑप्शन होती है उसके थ्रू जनरेट कर सकते हैं. तो ऐसा कोई भी सीबीएस सिस्टम है उसके अंदर मेनू ऑप्शंस होती हैं जिसके थ्रू हम डाटा जनरेशन कर सकते हैं. जैसे अगर मेरे को ये देखना है कि मेरी अकाउंट के अंदर कब कब क्या क्या लिमिट्स रही हैं, अगर हम सीसी डीपी की बात करें, सीसी या ओडी अकाउंट्स की बात करें, तो जैसे फिनाकल के अंदर एक ऑप्शन आती है HACL करके एक ऑप्शन आती है सर. आप उसको अगर HACL ऑप्शन को डालें तो उसके अंदर वो आपको बताएगा कि कौन कौन सी डेट में कितनी कितनी लिमिट्स रही हैं इस अकाउंट के अंदर. तो दिस इज वन ऑफ द ऑप्शंस. बट अगर आप ये चाहते हैं कि जी मेरे को पूरे सारे अकाउंट्स जो मेरे ब्रांच के हैं उसके अंदर कब कब क्या क्या मास्टर डाटा के अंदर चेंजेस हुए, तो वो हो सकता है कि आपको किसी मेनू ऑप्शन से ना मिले. दैट कैन ओनली बी जनरेटेड फ्रॉम द बैक एंड बाय द सिस्टम एडमिनिस्ट्रेटर. तो जो मेनू ऑप्शंस है वो आपको किसी एक पर्टिकुलर अकाउंट में तो बता देगी कि आपको एक एक अकाउंट में जाके इंक्वायरी करनी पड़ेगी, पर अगर मेरे को पूरे मेरी ब्रांच के जितने अकाउंट्स है उसकी अगर ये डाटा चाहिए तो इट कैन ओनली बी जनरेटेड बाय द बैकएंड, सो यू डू नॉट हैव अ मेनू ऑप्शन व्हिच विल हेल्प यू इन जनरेटिंग दिस। ठीक है, अब इसको चेक करने का क्या तरीका हो सकता है सर? आई कैन टेल यू वन ऑफ द वेज थ्रू व्हिच यू कैन वेरीफाई इट, एंड वी हैव बीन डूइंग दिस फॉर मेनी इयर्स। क्योंकि इसका रीजन क्या है सर? क्योंकि जो भी कंप्यूटराइज सिस्टम है वो बेसिकली गीगो है, गार्बेज इन गार्बेज आउट। सो इफ यू इनपुट द रॉन्ग इंफॉर्मेशन इन द सिस्टम वुड गिव यू द रॉन्ग रिजल्ट। तो अगर आपने मास्टर डाटा गलत फीड किया हुआ है, वो गलती से किया है या जानबूझ के किया, वो एक डिफरेंट मैटर है, तो वो उसका रिजल्ट भी गलत आने वाला है। तो हम क्या एक एक्टिविटी करते हैं सर, दिस इज वन ऑफ द ऑडिट प्लानिंग टूल्स व्हिच आई वाज गोइंग टू एक्सप्लेन इन एनी केस, but because the question has been raised, I am telling you right now. So what you should do is that before you even go to the branch, sir, what you can do is you can ask for the profile of the advances of the branch. तो एक तो CCOD की आप फाइल मंगवा लीजिए उससे, दूसरा TLDL की फाइल मंगवा लीजिए। TLDL की फाइल जो है उसमें आपको क्या डाटा उससे लेना है कि अकाउंट नंबर आपके पास आ गया, ओरिजिनल लोन कितने अमाउंट के लिए दिया था, कौन सी डेट को दिया था, कितनी टोटल इंस्टॉलमेंट के लिए दिया था, ठीक है, और रेट ऑफ इंटरेस्ट का। अगर ये आपके पास चार इंफॉर्मेशन है सर, तो बड़ा एक इजी ऑप्शन है, आप कोई अमोर्टाइजेशन शेड्यूल एक आता है, आप गूगल करिए, अमोर्टाइजेशन शेड्यूल आपको मिल जाएगा, और वो अमोर्टाइजेशन शेड्यूल आप एक्सेल के अंदर भी क्रिएट कर सकते हैं। इट्स अ वेरी सिंपल फॉर्मूला। आपने वो क्रिएट कर लिया तो आपको ये पता चल जाएगा कि किसी भी अकाउंट का आइडल बैलेंस क्या है, कि एज ऑन 31 मार्च 2022 उसका क्या बैलेंस होना चाहिए, और उसको आप कंपेयर कर लीजिए एक्चुअल बैलेंस के साथ। मनीष जी, आई एम ऑडिबल ना सर?
Yes, sir. Completely audible.
सो यू कैन कंपेयर इट विद द एक्चुअल बैलेंस एंड सी कि भाई एक्चुअली में बैलेंस कितना है उसका। अगर इफ द बैलेंस जो उसका है वो उस बैलेंस से बहुत ज्यादा डिफरेंस है, जिसके अंदर जो आपका एक्चुअल बैलेंस है और जो आपका आइडल बैलेंस है उसमें बहुत ज्यादा डिफरेंस है। गिव मी एक सेकंड सर, मैं ऑफिस पहुंच गया हूँ, जस्ट गिव मी अ सेकंड। Okay, so I'm in office now, so I hope now it will be much better. Okay.
Yeah.
So what I basically saying was that अगर वो आइडल बैलेंस जो आपने निकाला और जो आपका एक्चुअल बैलेंस है उसके अंदर बहुत ज्यादा डिफरेंस।
So Lokesh is joining again. So I think he has reached his office. So he'll be joining just now. Yes, sir. It is better. Sir, please unmute yourself.
Okay. Now it will be better, sir. Now
Yes, sir. Yes. It's pleasure, sir.
important connection. Yeah. So basically, अगर आपका आइडल बैलेंस और जो एक्चुअल बैलेंस है उसके अंदर बहुत ज्यादा डिफरेंस है, तो then you can verify those cases specifically for the purpose of verifying कि ऐसा तो नहीं है कि वो अकाउंट के अंदर कोई जानबूझ के छेड़छाड़ की गई है या उसमें गलती से ये किया गया। इसका वन ऑफ द मोर रीजंस क्या है सर, कि हमने देखा है कि बहुत सारे बैंक्स के अंदर मर्जर्स हुए हैं। जब मर्जर्स होता है तो दो अलग अलग बैंक्स का डाटाबेस मर्ज होता है, एंड आई कैन टेल यू सर बहुत बारी इसमें गलतियां रह जाती है जो मर्जर्स होते हैं और वो गलतियां उसको इफेक्ट करता है आपके मास्टर डाटा को भी, और देन दी आइडेंटिफिकेशन ऑफ एनपीएस आल्सो। सो इट बिकम्स क्रिटिकल कि हम इस तरीके की एक्टिविटी करके फिर बैंक में जाएं। ओके, नाउ द एरिया व्हिच यू हैव टोल्ड मी सर, तो आई थिंक जो सबसे इंपॉर्टेंट है, आई थिंक इसके अंदर मैं कुछ चीजें आपके साथ शेयर करना चाहूंगा सर, कि जनरली जब मैं एक बैंक ऑडिट की बात करूं, तो बैंक ऑडिट के अंदर कुछ एक्टिविटीज आई थिंक हमें डिस्कस करने की जरूरत है कि हमें क्या क्या करने की जरूरत है। तो सबसे इंपॉर्टेंट क्या होता है, जब हमारे पास एक लेटर आया सर, और मोस्ट प्रोबेबली आपके पास जो लेटर्स हैं वो अगले हफ्ते तक सभी के पास आ जाएंगे, जो जो इनको ऑडिट मिलने वाला है आपकी बारी, जो करने वाले हैं ऑडिट्स। तो उसके अंदर सबसे इंपॉर्टेंट क्या है सर, फर्स्ट थिंग विच वी नीड टू डू व्हेन वी रिसीव अ लेटर इज टू कम्युनिकेट विद द प्रीवियस ऑडिटर। आई थिंक दिस इज समथिंग विच इज वेरी क्रिटिकल। हम ये चीज बड़ी छोटी सी चीज है पर कई बार मिस कर जाते हैं, या हम सोचते हैं इसकी क्या जरूरत है। तो दिस इज समथिंग विच इज मैंडेटरी फॉर अस, विच वी शुड डू, एंड विदाउट कम्युनिकेटिंग विद द प्रीवियस ऑडिटर वी शुड नॉट स्टार्ट विद द ऑडिट। एंड सर उसके दो लॉजिक हैं क्यों हमें करना है। एक तो देयर इज अ मैंडेटरी रिक्वायरमेंट ऑफ आवर इंस्टीट्यूट, वी शुड डू इट, वी शुड फॉलो दैट मैंडेटरी रिक्वायरमेंट। सेकेंडली एक चीज ये भी है सर, आप यू कैन एक्चुअली कॉल अप द प्रीवियस ऑडिटर। दिस इज प्रैक्टिकली व्हाट वी डू, वी कॉल अप द प्रीवियस ऑडिटर, ट्राई एंड अंडरस्टैंड कि भाई किस तरह के इश्यूज आपकी ब्रांच में रहे थे जब आपने पिछली बार ऑडिट किया, एंड दिस रियली हेल्प्स यू इन अंडरस्टैंडिंग कि क्या क्या इश्यूज उन्होंने फेस किए। और प्रैक्टिकली ऑल्सो इट हेल्प सर, बिकॉज आप ये पूछ सकते हैं कि सर वहां पे अगर स्पेशली आउट स्टेशन ब्रांच है कि भाई हम वहां पे आपको कहाँ पे रुक सकते हैं, वो सब चीजें भी कई बार इंपॉर्टेंट होती हैं कि आप आउट स्टेशन ऑडिट करने जा रहे हैं तो कहाँ पे आपके लिए बेटर होगा रुकना, ये सब चीजें इंपॉर्टेंट है। दूसरा कई बार ये भी होता है कि आप उससे ये भी पूछ सकते हैं कि सर उस जगह पे घूमने के लिए क्या क्या है, और अगर सपोज करो वो 10 जगह गिनवा दे वहां पे कि जो घूमने के लिए कौन कौन सी 10 जगह है, तो आपको ये भी सोचना पड़ेगा कि हो सकता है कि उसने अपना काम पूरा डिलीजेंटली ना किया और लास्ट ईयर, और आपको हो सकता है कि 2 साल का ऑडिट भी करके आना पड़े। तो दिस इज ऑल्सो इम्पोर्टेंट। तो पहला स्टेप किसी के लिए भी जब एक कोई ब्रांच ऑडिट मिलता है, तो आपको फर्स्ट स्टेप इज टू कम्युनिकेट विद द प्रीवियस ऑडिटर। दूसरा है सर, जब हम बात करते हैं इसकी, तो आता है बात कि जी एक हमेशा मेरे को जब लोगों से मैं मिलता हूँ या इंटरेक्ट करता हूँ, तो लोग मेरे को कहते हैं कि सर टाइम की शॉर्टेज रहती है। एक सेक्रेटरी ब्रांच ऑडिट में देयर इज ऑलवेज अ लिमिटेशन इन टर्म्स ऑफ हाउ मच टाइम यू हैव, हाउ मच टाइम यू कैन एक्चुअली डिवोट, क्योंकि वो ऑलरेडी एक आपको टाइम लिमिट देते हैं, और उस टाइम लिमिट के अंदर आपको 2 से 3 ब्रांचेस करनी होती है। So one of the reasons why we talk about audit planning in case of bank audit, this is important in every audit which we do, but in case of bank audit it becomes more critical because the time limitation is there and we need to somehow conserve time. And this is one of the ways through which we can conserve time, is to do a lot of activities offsite, which we can somehow do offsite, which we are not required to sit in the branch and do, sir. तो मैं लोगों को कहता हूँ कि सर आप क्या कर सकते हैं प्लानिंग के लिए, यू डोंट रियली नीड टू बी देयर इन दी ब्रांच टू स्टार्ट ऑफ विद दी ऑडिट। पहली चीज आपने कम्युनिकेशन किया प्रीवियस ऑडिटर से, उसके बाद कुछ एक्टिविटीज आप अपने ऑफिस में बैठ के कर सकते हैं। वन ऑफ द एक्टिविटीज विच यू नीड टू डू इज to take all the reports audits which have been done in the branch. And the good thing now is that in most of the banks all the audits are being done on a centralized system, on a software itself, or a soft copy is always generated of the audit report. अब उसमें इंटरनल ऑडिट भी होगा, कॉन्करेंट ऑडिट भी होगा, कोई सिस्टम ऑडिट भी हो सकता है, क्रेडिट ऑडिट भी हो सकते हैं, तो काफी सारे ऑडिट्स होते हैं। आपको ये रिपोर्ट्स, you don't need to go to the branch and take the audit report and then sit there and go through the reports. ये एक्टिविटी आप अपने ऑफिस में बैठ के भी कर सकते हैं। उससे आपको क्या एडवांटेज होता है सर, कि ये जो एक्टिविटी करने से आपको एक आइडिया मिल जाता है कि मेरी ब्रांच में क्या क्या एक्टिविटीज होती है। सपोज करो फॉरेक्स की एक्टिविटी होती है, तो आपको पता चल जाएगा कि भाई इसमें फॉरेक्स की एक्टिविटी भी होती है। दूसरी चीज है उसके अंदर क्या क्या कमियां है मेरी ब्रांच के अंदर, क्या क्या इश्यूज है, वो आपको एक आइडिया मिल जाता है बाय गोइंग थ्रू दोस ऑडिट रिपोर्ट्स। एडवांटेज अगेन द सेम पॉइंट कि व्हेन आई प्लान माय ऑडिट, जो ये बेसिक इंफॉर्मेशन मैंने कलेक्ट कर ली बाय गोइंग थ्रू दोस ऑडिट रिपोर्ट्स, व्हिच वुड हेल्प रियली इन मी टू प्लान द ऑडिट बेटर वे। और जब मैं ब्रांच के अंदर जाऊंगा तो मुझे एग्जैक्टली पता होगा कि मुझे क्या क्या एक्टिविटीज कवर करनी है, और मेरी ब्रांच के अंदर क्या क्या एरियाज ऐसे हैं जिसके अंदर मेरे को ध्यान देने की जरूरत है। तो जिसको हम कहते हैं कि फॉर अ प्लानिंग, unless until you have the basic information, you know your auditee, you will not be able to plan. So by going through these audit reports,
you would be able to basically understand the branch you are going to audit into, and this would help you in a better planning in terms of what resources are required to be taken there and what kind of activities you are required to be performed there, and then you can plan it accordingly. So this is very important. एक एक्टिविटी और आपको करने की जरूरत है सर बिफोर यू एक्चुअली विजिट द ब्रांच एंड विच यू कैन इजीली डू. तो कुछ एनालिटिक प्रोसीजर्स करने की जरूरत है विच यू कैन इजीली डू सिटिंग इन योर ऑफिस एंड विच वी डू फॉर अदर क्लाइंट्स आल्सो इन अदर ऑडिट्स आल्सो. So what we do is we compare the current year figures with the previous year figures and try to analyze कि भाई कोई unusual deviation है कि नहीं है. तो आप प्लीज ये बात को समझिए कि जो स्टैट्यूटरी ब्रांच ऑडिट है, इट इज नॉट ओनली एन ऑडिट फॉर एडवांसेस. There are other areas. There is a balance sheet also. There is a profit and loss account also, which you are verifying, and you are giving a report as to the trueness and fairness of those financial statements. So this is one of the analytic procedures which you need to do, comparing the current year figures with the previous year figures. One, and then the branches generate a quarterly report also. Quarterly accounts audited होते हैं banks के अंदर. तो आप वो क्वार्टरली आप बैलेंस शीट्स भी ले सकते हैं और एक ट्रेंड एनालिसिस कर सकते हैं अबाउट द मेजर हेड्स ऑफ इनकम एंड एक्सपेंडिचर एंड मेजर हेड्स ऑफ द बैलेंस शीट. दिस वुड रियली हेल्प यू बिकॉज इसके थ्रू आपको ये पता चल जाएगा कि कौन कौन सी आइटम पे आपको ध्यान देने की जरूरत है. सर अगर आपने ये एनालिसिस कर दिया, ऑडिट रिपोर्ट्स ऑब्टेन कर ली जो और ऑडिट्स हुए हैं बैंक के अंदर, और एक जो मैंने आपको बताया कि आप अपने एडवांसेस, क्योंकि एडवांसेस वुड डेफिनेटली कॉन्स्टिट्यूट अ इम्पोर्टेंट एरिया फॉर द ऑडिट. तो अगर आप एडवांसेस का ब्रेकअप पहले से ले लें तो आपको पता चल जाएगा कि मेरी ब्रांच में कितने एडवांसेस हैं. अब ये हो सकता है 50 करोड़ की ब्रांच हो पर उसके अंदर 5000 एडवांसेस हो, छोटे छोटे बोरोवर्स हो. और ऐसा भी कई बार होता है कि ये 200 करोड़ की ब्रांच है, उसके अंदर पता चलता है कि 100 करोड़ मैंने एक ही कस्टमर को दे रखा है. तो एक आपको ये पता चल जाएगा कि मुझे कितना टाइम वहां पे लगने वाला है. सर so this is the third area. Fourth thing which you need to do is to train your staff, sir, before you actually visit the bank. होता क्या है सर, हम यहाँ पे क्या कर रहे हैं इस टाइम, बेसिकली हम शेयरिंग ऑफ नॉलेज कर रहे हैं. हम समझने की कोशिश कर रहे हैं कि हमें कैसे हम बेटर ऑडिट कर सकते हैं, क्या चेंजेस आए हैं ऑडिट के अंदर, ये सब चीजें हम डिस्कस करते हैं. राइट नाउ होता क्या है सर, सारा ऑडिट हम तो नहीं करने वाले, हमारी टीम करने वाली है. तो somebody has said and which is very right, we are as good as our team is. तो हमारी जो टीम है वो ट्रेन होनी जरूरी है. सर अब हमारे साथ होता क्या है सर, स्पेशली जो हमारी मिडिल लेवल फर्म्स है या स्मॉलर फर्म्स हैं, कि वहां पे देयर इज अ लॉट ऑफ स्टाफ रोटेशन. तो कई बार ऐसा भी होता है कि जो इस बार स्टाफ ऑडिट हमारे साथ करने जा रहा है वो उसने पिछली बार बैंक ऑडिट किया ही नहीं था. तो वी नीड टू समहाउ ट्रेन अवर स्टाफ आल्सो बिफोर वी एंटर द बैंक प्रीमाइसेस एंड स्टार्ट डूइंग ऑडिट. क्योंकि ऑन दी जॉब आप ट्रेनिंग नहीं दे पाएंगे सर. आप ऑन दी जॉब जो उसको बताएंगे वो आधा समझेगा और उस आधे के अंदर से वो 25% ही काम करके आएगा. तो even when you may have a very good knowledge, if you don't percolate that knowledge to your staff which is going to do the audit, your work would become difficult, your quality would suffer. ठीक है, तो अगर हम ये 4 एक्टिविटीज करते हैं बेसिकली, then I think we are ready to enter the branch and start doing the work. Now if you ask me sir, audit program की हम बात करते हैं, तो somebody might ask कि सर क्या मुझे एक ऑडिट प्रोग्राम की जरूरत है. तो मैं कहता हूँ सर हाँ, ऑडिट प्रोग्राम की आपको जरूरत है. क्यों जरूरत है सर, इससे क्या होता है, मिस आउट नहीं करते हैं कोई एक्टिविटी को, या हम किसी एक्टिविटी को हम कर रहे हैं तो हमें पता है कि मुझे इस एक्टिविटी के अंदर क्या क्या एक्टिविटीज को इनकॉर्पोरेट करना है. एक एग्जांपल लेते हैं, जैसे सर कि जैसे अगर मैं बात करता हूँ डीपी की कैलकुलेशन, वो सही हो रही है कि नहीं हो रही. ठीक है, अब आप कहेंगे सर ये तो एलएफएआर का पॉइंट है. मैं कहूंगा सर एलएफएआर का तो है ही, पर इसके अलावा इसकी इंपॉर्टेंस क्या है कि जब हम आउट ऑफ ऑर्डर स्टेटस की बात करते हैं, सीसीओडी के अंदर एनपीए की बात करते हैं, तो वन ऑफ द एरियाज देयर इज आउट ऑफ ऑर्डर का कि दी आउटस्टैंडिंग बैलेंस रिमेन कंटिन्यूअसली इन एक्सेस ऑफ द सैंक्शन लिमिट ड्राइंग पावर. अब आपने ड्राइंग पावर को पहले कैलकुलेट करा और उसके बाद इसको वेरीफाई किया सीसीओडी को विद द एंगल ऑफ एनपीए आइडेंटिफिकेशन, तो आपकी आइडेंटिफिकेशन करेक्ट होगी. और पहले आपने वेरीफाई कर लिया सीसीओडी को विदाउट वेरीफाइंग वेदर द डीपी कैलकुलेटेड बाय द बैंक इटसेल्फ इज करेक्ट और नॉट. और फिर उसके बाद आपने डीपी कैलकुलेशन की, तो वो जो आपका प्रोसेस है वो आपको या तो दोबारा से करना पड़ेगा या आप उस प्रोसेस के अंदर गलतियां छोड़ देंगे कि उसको आप अप्लाई नहीं करेंगे इन एनपी आइडेंटिफिकेशन. तो जो ऑडिट प्रोग्राम है सर आपको बेटर हेल्प करता है. एक तो आपका टाइम सेव करता है, एक आपको पता चलता है कि मुझे क्या क्या एक्टिविटीज यहाँ पे करने की जरूरत है और किस सीक्वेंस में करने की जरूरत है। आप कहेंगे सर ऑडिट प्रोग्राम क्या मैं खुद डिवाइस करूं? आई कैन टेल यू सर, आप गाइडेंस नोट जो इंस्टीट्यूट ने बनाया है, एवरी ईयर दे प्रिपेयर अ गाइडेंस नोट ऑन स्टैट्यूटरी ऑडिट ऑफ बैंक्स। दिस ईयर आल्सो देयर इज अ गाइडेंस नोट ऑन स्टैट्यूटरी ऑडिट ऑफ बैंक्स। उसके अंदर एक ऑडिट प्रोग्राम उन्होंने आपके लिए बना के दिया है सर। यू कैन एक्चुअली टेक आउट दैट प्रोग्राम एंड सॉफ्ट कॉपी में आपको प्रोग्राम मिल जाएगा, सॉफ्ट कॉपी इज अवेलेबल। प्लीज टेक आउट दैट प्रोग्राम, modify that program according to your needs. So you have a ready-made program with you. You can modify it according to your needs and use that program for the purpose of your audit. ठीक है? तो this I think is one of the very important activities which you should. ठीक है? एक दो चीजें और मैं आपके साथ शेयर करना चाहूंगा, which I am sure would actually help you in doing a very good audit, sir. हमें पता सब कुछ होता है, sometimes we really don't know what how we should proceed with the audit या क्या क्या चीजें हम कर सकते हैं। तो एक चीज है सर, जैसे फॉर एग्जांपल एक होता है क्रिलिक का डाटाबेस। ये भी क्रिलिक क्या है सर? ये एक डाटाबेस है जो आरबीआई ने क्रिएट किया है फॉर ऑल लार्ज एडवांसेस। 5 करोड़ या उससे ऊपर के जितने भी एडवांसेस हैं, 5 करोड़ एंड अबव, फंड प्लस नॉन फंड बेस्ड लिमिट्स, उसकी एक रिपोर्टिंग होती है क्रिलिक के अंदर। हर एक बैंक को करनी होती है, मैंडेटरी रिपोर्टिंग है। आप बैंक का ऑडिट कर रहे हैं, आपने उसमें वेरीफाई करना है कि भाई अगर कोई भी अकाउंट है जो 5 करोड़ एंड अबव का है, तो आप उसकी क्रिलिक की रिपोर्ट जरूर लीजिए सर, एज ऑन 31 मार्च। उससे क्या होगा सर, आपको सिर्फ ये नहीं पता चलेगा कि मेरे बैंक ने उसको क्या रिपोर्ट कर रखा है, कि उसको स्टैंडर्ड रिपोर्ट किया है, उसको एसएमए रिपोर्ट किया है। आपको ये भी पता चलेगा कि किसी और बैंक ने उसको एसएमए रिपोर्ट किया हो या एनपीए रिपोर्ट किया हो, या एक कंसेप्ट आता है जो पिछले साल आपने एलएफएआर में देखा था, जिसको हम कहते हैं रेड फ्लैग अकाउंट्स। तो रेड फ्लैग अकाउंट्स क्या होते हैं? बेसिकली ये वो अकाउंट्स है जिसमें कुछ प्रॉब्लम है, the bank is not able to say as of now whether it results into a fraud or not. ठीक है? But there is some problem in the account and they need to investigate that account. तो अगर किसी भी बैंक को कोई रेड फ्लैग्स मिलते हैं किसी अकाउंट में, उसको वो रेड फ्लैग मार्क कर देते हैं, उसको क्रिलिक में रिपोर्ट कर देते हैं। ठीक है? तो आपको ये भी पता चलेगा कि ऐसा कोई अकाउंट जो किसी बैंक ने उसको रेड फ्लैग कर रखा हो। दिस वुड, ऐसा नहीं है कि किसी बैंक ने उसको एनपीए कर दिया तो मैं भी एनपीए कर दूं, बट दिस विल गिव यू एन आइडिया कि जिस अकाउंट को हो सकता है कि आप मान रहे हो कि यदि अकाउंट बहुत अच्छा है, पर अगर वो किसी और बैंक में कोई प्रॉब्लम क्रिएट कर रहा है, तो वो कहीं ना कहीं मेरे को भी उसको डिटेल में वेरीफाई करने की जरूरत है। तो इस तरह की जो रिपोर्ट्स हैं, जो क्रिलिक है जैसे, इसकी आपको रिपोर्ट जरूर यूज करनी चाहिए। इट विल गिव यू अ वेरी गुड आइडिया। और एक चीज हमें हमेशा याद रखनी है सर, मटेरियलिटी इज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट। तो जितने बड़े अकाउंट्स हैं उस पर आपको ज्यादा ध्यान देना है। तो इस तरह के जो डाटा बेसेस हैं जो आरबीआई ने क्रिएट किया, जैसे क्रिलिक हो गया या सीएफआर हो गया। सीएफआर क्या है? सेंट्रल फ्रॉड रजिस्ट्री। तो इस तरह के डाटा बेसिस को आप जरूर यूज करिए फॉर द पर्पस ऑफ योर ऑडिट। ठीक है? इसके अलावा सर मैं इससे पहले नीलेश जी का चल रहा था प्रोग्राम, तो मैं कुछ चीजें जो मैं सुन पाया उनसे, तो उन्होंने कुछ चीजें वो बता रहे थे कि कुछ एक्टिविटीज विच द ब्रांच माइट बी डूइंग which is something which is not permissible but which we all know कि भाई कुछ एक्टिविटीज ऐसी होती हैं जिससे वो एनपीए से बचाने की कोशिश करते हैं अकाउंट्स। अब मैं कैसे आइडेंटिफाई करूं ऐसे अकाउंट्स जिसके अंदर इस तरह की कोई एक्टिविटी शायद हुई हो, मुझे नहीं पता कि इसमें हुई है कि नहीं है। तो वन ऑफ द वेज थ्रू विच वी डू इट इज कि सर एक एसएमए की लिस्ट निकलती है, स्पेशल मेंशन अकाउंट। व्हाट इज स्पेशल मेंशन अकाउंट? इज बेसिकली एन अकाउंट विच इज अ स्टैंडर्ड अकाउंट। एसएमए इज नॉट एन एनपीए अकाउंट, बट ये रेगुलर नहीं है एज पर दी एग्रीमेंट बिटवीन द बायर एंड द बोरोवर, द बोरोवर एंड द बैंक। ठीक है? उसमें कोई डिस्क्रिपेंसी है, डिस्क्रिपेंसी इन टर्म्स ऑफ कि वो इंस्टॉलमेंट नहीं दे रहा, हो सकता है उसने एक इंस्टॉलमेंट ना दी हो सकता है उसने 2 इंस्टॉलमेंट ना पे करी हो, तो अभी वो अकाउंट एनपीए में स्लिप नहीं किया है, वो एसएमए अकाउंट है। व्हाट वी डू इज फॉर एनपीए आइडेंटिफिकेशन इज कि हम एसएमए की रिपोर्ट लेते हैं एज ऑन 31 मार्च, वेरीफाई दैट रिपोर्ट कि हो सकता है बैंक के हिसाब से वो अकाउंट एसएमए है, अभी एनपीए नहीं हुआ। व्हेन आई लुक इट फ्रॉम द ऑडिटर्स पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू, द अकाउंट नीड्स टू बी क्लासिफाइड एज एन एनपीए। पर इसके अलावा हम एक एक्टिविटी और करते हैं सर, जिसको हमेशा हमने देखा है कि उससे हमें अच्छे रिजल्ट मिले हैं, कि हम ये लिस्ट जो लेते हैं एसएमए की 28 फैब को भी लेते हैं, 31 जनवरी की डेट की भी लेते हैं और 31 दिसंबर की भी ले लेते हैं। और हमारा बेसिक पर्पस क्या होता है उससे, कि हम ये चेक करते हैं कि दिसंबर जनवरी फरवरी में कोई ऐसा अकाउंट हो जो उसमें आ रहा था पर मार्च की रिपोर्ट में नहीं आ रहा। ठीक है? और ऐसे मैंने अकाउंट्स को आइडेंटिफाई करने के लिए बहुत इजी है सर, आपने ये लिया वी लुकअप करके एक कमांड आता है, उससे बड़ी इजीली आप इसको आइडेंटिफाई कर लेंगे कुछ ही मिनटों में कि ऐसे कितने अकाउंट्स हैं जो दिसंबर में आ रहे थे या जनवरी में आ रहे थे या फैब में आ रहे थे या तीनों रिपोर्ट्स में आ रहे थे और जो मार्च में नहीं आ रहे। यानी ये वो अकाउंट्स हैं जो इरेगुलर चल रहे थे पहले 2-3 महीने पहले तक, पर अभी वो अकाउंट रेगुलर हो गया है। और उनको वेरीफाई कर लीजिए सर स्पेशली कि उसको रेगुलराइज कैसे किया गया है। तो क्या होता है सर, जो एनपीए को बचाने के लिए एक्टिविटीज होती हैं जनरली लास्ट के 1-2 महीने में ज्यादा होती है, कि जनवरी फरवरी मार्च में ज्यादा इस एक्टिविटी को किया जाता है। तो अगर आप ऐसे कुछ अकाउंट्स पकड़ लें जो इरेगुलर चल रहे थे और उसको अब वो मार्च में दिखा रहे हैं कि अकाउंट रेगुलराइज हो चुका है, तो उससे उन अकाउंट्स को आप ध्यान से चेक कर सकते हैं उनको रेगुलराइज कैसे हुए। वो ऐसा तो नहीं बैंक ने कोई और लोन देके उसको रेगुलराइज कर दिया है या बैंक ने कोई और एक्टिविटी करके उसको रेगुलराइज करने की कोशिश की हो। तो ये जो बेसिक एक्टिविटी है इससे आप से आइडेंटिफाई करेंगे 20 अकाउंट, 25 अकाउंट, 30 अकाउंट, जिनके अंदर आप डिटेल्ड वेरिफिकेशन करके वेरीफाई कर सकते हैं एनी कोई इस तरह की कोई एक्टिविटी तो नहीं की गई है। आई कैन टेल यू सर, हमारे को एक केस मिला सर जिसमें एक अकाउंट था जो दिसंबर जनवरी फैब तीनों में इरेगुलर दिखा रहा था, मार्च के अंदर वो रेगुलरिटी नहीं दिखा रहा था, इरेगुलरिटी। जब हमने आइडेंटिफाई किया, चेक किया, तो हमें पता चला उन्होंने 30 मार्च में एक चेक परचेज की एंट्री डाली, उससे अकाउंट को रेगुलराइज कर दिया। जब हमने वो चेक परचेज को चेक करा तो पता चला कि वो जो चेक कभी क्लियरिंग के लिए भी नहीं भेजा गया, वो चेक एक्चुअली में ब्रांच मैनेजर ने सिर्फ डमी एंट्री डाली थी, एक्चुअली द चेक इटसेल्फ वाज नॉट सेंट फॉर क्लियरिंग इटसेल्फ। तो ये जब हम इसलिए आइडेंटिफाई कर पाए क्योंकि हमने वो लिस्ट को शॉर्टन अप कर लिया, वो 20-25 अकाउंट तक ले आए जहां पे हमने डिटेल वेरिफिकेशन की। अगर आप सारे अकाउंट्स में ये इतना डिटेल वेरिफिकेशन करने की सोचेंगे तो आप नहीं कर पाएंगे। तो दिस इज वन ऑफ द वेज थ्रू विच आई थिंक यू कैन गेट गुड रिजल्ट in case you are trying to identify any account from which the branch might have done some activity to save it from becoming an NPA. इसके अलावा सर सस्पेंस एंड सन्ड्रीज अकाउंट, इनको जरूर आपने वेरीफाई करना है। दो रीजंस है इसके, एक तो नेचर ऑफ आउटस्टैंडिंग एंट्रीज दैट बिकम्स वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट, और दूसरा इसके अंदर आता है सर कि सस्पेंस सन्ड्रीज अकाउंट जो है ना सर, ये वो अकाउंट्स हैं जो कस्टमर के अकाउंट नहीं है, बैंक के अकाउंट है। तो इसमें आप कोई भी एंट्री डालें, कोई आपको ऑब्जेक्ट नहीं करने वाला, कोई कस्टमर आके शोर नहीं मचाने वाला। तो इसमें क्या होता है सर, आई कैन टेल यू वी हैव बीन डूइंग अ लॉट ऑफ ऑडिट्स फॉर बैंक्स एंड बहुत एक क्रिटिकल एक्टिविटी है, सस्पेंस और सन्ड्रीज हैव बीन हाईली मिसयूज एरिया फॉर डूइंग फ्रॉड्स इन द बैंक आल्सो। आई एम श्योर जब नीलेश जी ने आपको बताया था इससे पहले तो उन्होंने इसके बारे में जरूर बताया होगा। And these accounts we have also seen being misused for the purpose of saving the account from becoming an NPA. तो nature of entries in the account last के स्पेशली मार्च के महीने में जरूर एक बार ध्यान दीजिए, और आउटस्टैंडिंग एंट्रीज को तो ध्यान से देखना ही देखना है। क्या हो सकता है आउटस्टैंडिंग एंट्रीज के अंदर सर, जैसे आई कैन गिव यू एन एग्जांपल। एक ब्रांच के अंदर हमने ऑडिट कर रहे थे, आउटस्टैंडिंग एंट्रीज हमने देखी सस्पेंस की, तो एक एंट्री आ रही थी 5 लाख रुपए की, 3 साल पुरानी एंट्री थी। जब हमने उसकी डिटेल मांगी तो उन्होंने बड़ी मुश्किल से हमें कुछ दिनों में डिटेल निकाल के दी। जब हमारे बहुत ज्यादा हमने इंसिस्ट किया तो पता चला सर एक ब्रांच में फ्रॉड हुआ एक अकाउंट के अंदर। द कस्टमर वेंट इनटू बैंकिंग ओम्बड्समैन, बैंकिंग ओम्बड्समैन गेव द ऑर्डर इन फेवर ऑफ द कस्टमर, द बैंक वाज लायबल टू कंपनसेट द कस्टमर, तो बैंक ने उसको कंपनसेट कर दिया, सस्पेंस अकाउंट को डेबिट किया, कस्टमर को कंपनसेट कर दिया। तो वी आस्क्ड देम कि भाई ये तो फ्रॉड का केस है, आपने कस्टमर को कंपनसेट कर दिया, whether it is recoverable from somebody, whether you have identified the account, whether you have any asset of the fraudster through which you will be able to do the recovery. So they were not able to give us any answers. ठीक है, तो sometimes the nature of entry, सिर्फ आपने ये नहीं समझना नेचर ऑफ एंट्री क्या है, ये भी समझना है क्या लॉजिक है उसको कंटिन्यू करने के लिए। ठीक है, तो दिस इज अ वेरी क्रिटिकल एक्टिविटी विच यू शुड डू। ठीक है, इसके अलावा सर एक एक्टिविटी आपको जरूर करनी है जो मैं लोगों को बोलता हूँ और बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट एक्टिविटी है, विच इज कि आपके पास एक लिस्ट ऑफ एनपीएस है एज ऑन 31 मार्च 2021, उसको आप कंपेयर करिए विद द लिस्ट ऑफ एनपीएस प्रोवाइडेड टू यू बाय द ब्रांच एज ऑन 31 मार्च 2022। ये वो सेट ऑफ एनपीएस हैं जो ब्रांच ने खुद ही एनपीए कर रखे हैं, आपने अभी उसमें कोई कॉन्ट्रीब्यूशन नहीं किया। ठीक है, द पर्पज इज कि जब आप इसको दोनों को मैच करेंगे तो उसमें 3 लिस्ट बनेगी, एक जो पिछले साल एनपीए थे इस साल भी एनपीए कंटिन्यूइंग एनपीएस, एक वो होंगे जो पिछले साल एनपीए नहीं थे और इस साल एनपीए यानी फ्रेश एडिशन टू एनपीएस, और एक ऐसे होंगे जो पिछले साल एनपीए थे और इस साल एनपीए नहीं है। ठीक है, तीनों में आपको कुछ वेरिफिकेशन करना है एंड दिस इज अ वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट एक्टिविटी। क्यों, क्या वेरीफाई करना है सर? जो अकाउंट पिछले साल एनपीए था और इस साल भी एनपीए है, उसमें आपको चेक करना है पहली चीज सर डेट ऑफ एनपीए। हमने ऐसे केसेस देखे हैं सर जो पिछले साल भी से एक अकाउंट एनपीए बना, उसकी डेट ऑफ एनपीए था 30 सितंबर 2020। इस साल अकाउंट एनपीए की लिस्ट में अपीयर कर रहा है, पर उसकी डेट ऑफ एनपीए चेंज हो गई है, 30 सितंबर 2021 हो गई है। तो अकाउंट पिछले साल भी सब स्टैंडर्ड था, इस साल भी सब स्टैंडर्ड में दिख रहा है। तो डेट ऑफ एनपीए नीड्स टू बी वेरीफाइड सर। दूसरी चीज है सर, अब क्या होता है, कोई अकाउंट एनपीए हो गया, उस अकाउंट के अंदर अब जो रियलाइजेशन आती है, कोई पैसा आएगा, तो अकाउंटिंग पॉलिसी होगी बैंक की कि वो पैसे को हम कहाँ पे ही लेके जाएंगे। जो अनरियलाइज इंटरेस्ट है उसमें एडजस्ट करेंगे या प्रिंसिपल से एडजस्ट करेंगे, तो उसकी पॉलिसी बैंक की होगी। जनरली बैंक की पॉलिसी क्या होती है कि हम अनरियलाइज इंटरेस्ट पहले रिकवर करेंगे और फिर प्रिंसिपल से एडजस्ट करेंगे। तो आपको ये देखना है अगर कोई रिकवरी आई है एनपीए अकाउंट में, तो वो एज पर दी पॉलिसी ऑफ द बैंक उसको अकाउंट फॉर किया गया है कि नहीं किया गया। बहुत बार क्या होता है सर, वो जो प्रिंसिपल अमाउंट से एडजस्ट कर देते हैं, जो अनरियलाइज इंटरेस्ट है, जो डेबिट नहीं किया गया इंटरेस्ट को बिकॉज अकाउंट वाज एनपीए, उसको रिकवर नहीं करते। तो ये आपको चेक करना है दोनों एक्टिविटी। अब कोई अकाउंट जो पिछले साल एनपीए नहीं था, इस साल एनपीए है, तो यानी फ्रेश एनपीए, उसमें क्या देखने की जरूरत है, कोई बता सकता है? भाई बैंक ने खुद ही एनपीए कर दिया, तो हमें एज एन ऑडिटर क्या देखने की जरूरत है सर उसमें? सर उसमें देखना है पहली चीज अगेन डेट ऑफ एनपीए, क्या बैंक ने करेक्ट डेट ऑफ एनपीए लिया है कि नहीं लिया। जनरली आप देखेंगे बैंक की जो टेंडेंसी होती है वो ये होती है कि वो एनपीए को आइडेंटिफाई करता है आइदर एट द क्वार्टर एंड या एट द मंथ एंड, या मैक्सिमम केसेस में आइडेंटिफिकेशन करता है एट द एंड ऑफ द ईयर। कई बार जब आप चेक करते हैं तो आपको पता चलता है सर ये तो अकाउंट पिछले साल ही एनपीए हो जाना चाहिए था, राइट। तो जो अकाउंट आज वो सब स्टैंडर्ड में दिखा रहे हैं, हो सकता है वो डायरेक्टली आपका डाउटफुल कैटेगरी में जाना हो। तो डेट ऑफ एनपीए आपको वेरीफाई करना है। दूसरा चीज क्या चेक करना होता है कि अगर अकाउंट एक एनपीए बन जाता है, तो जिस डेट को वो एनपीए बनता है उसके बाद उसमें कोई इंटरेस्ट डेबिट नहीं होता अकाउंट में टिल इट इज एक्चुअली रियलाइज, राइट। ये तो मैंने देखा बैंक्स एक्चुअली में करते हैं कि जैसे ही आप वो सिस्टम में मार्क कर देता है उसको एनपीए अकाउंट को सीबीएस सिस्टम में, तो सिस्टम उसमें इंटरेस्ट डेबिट करना बंद कर देता है टिल इट इज एक्चुअली रियलाइज। पर आरबीआई ये भी कहता है सर कि जो ऑलरेडी इंटरेस्ट डेबिट हो चुका था अकाउंट को एंड विच इज अनरियलाइज, उसको भी आपको डीरिकॉग्नाइज करना है। ये जो एक्टिविटी है हमने देखा है कि बैंक्स के केसेस में कई बार वो प्रॉपरली नहीं कर रहे। तो यहाँ पे आपको एक चेक करने की जरूरत है कहीं पे कि जी ऐसे जो जो अकाउंट उन्होंने फ्रेशली आइडेंटिफाई किए हैं एज एनपीए, उसका जो इनकम डीरिकॉग्निशन है वो प्रॉपरली किया गया है कि नहीं किया। ठीक है, तो दिस इज अ वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट एक्टिविटी, ये सीधा सीधा आपके प्रॉफिट एंड लॉस को इंपैक्ट करता है। ठीक है, अब इसमें क्वेश्चन ये भी आता है सर कि कोई पूछ सकता है कि सर से कोई अकाउंट एनपीए आइडेंटिफाई किया गया इस साल 30 सितंबर 2021 को, तो जो मुझे चेक करना है कि इनकम जो रियलाइज नहीं हुआ और जो मुझे डीरिकॉग्नाइज करनी है वो इसी फाइनेंशियल ईयर को चेक करना है, यानी 1 अप्रैल 2021 के बाद ही देखूं, या पिछले फाइनेंशियल ईयर को भी देख सकता हूँ, 1 अप्रैल 2020 से देख सकता हूँ क्या मैं, या उससे पीछे भी जा सकता हूँ। एक रेलिवेंट क्वेश्चन आता है। तो आरबीआई कहता है सर आप कितना भी पीछे जा सकते हैं, देयर इज नो लिमिट, आप डेट ऑफ डिसबर्समेंट तक भी जा सकते हैं। और स्पेशली अगर आप कोई रूरल ब्रांच कर रहे हो, एग्रीकल्चर एडवांसेस की बात करूं, जो हो सकता है 2 साल में एनपीए हो रहा हो, 3 साल में एनपीए हो रहा है, तो हो सकता है 3-3 साल का आपको इंटरेस्ट रिवर्सल करवाना पड़े। ठीक है सर, तो दिस इज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट। अब बात करते हैं सर कोई पिछले साल अकाउंट एनपीए था और इस साल अकाउंट एनपीए नहीं है, उसमें क्या देखने की जरूरत है सर? ऐसा कैसे हो सकता है कि कोई अकाउंट पिछले साल एनपीए था इस साल एनपीए नहीं है? बता सकते हैं क्या रीजन हो सकता है ऐसा? किस केस में होगा ऐसा? यानी 2 केसेस हो सकते हैं सर, या तो अकाउंट के अंदर अपग्रेडेशन हो गया, अकाउंट सब स्टैंडर्ड था, एनपीए था, उसको अपग्रेड करके स्टैंडर्ड अकाउंट कर दिया गया, या हो सकता है कि अकाउंट क्लोज डाउन हो गया, उसमें पूरा पैसा आ गया, फुल रिकवरी हो गई, अकाउंट को क्लोज डाउन कर दिया गया, या उसमें कोई सेटलमेंट हो गया, ठीक है, वन टाइम सेटलमेंट हो गया, या कोई आपने कोई कॉम्प्रोमाइज कर लिया और अकाउंट को में उसने रिकवरी दे दी जितना उसका पोर्शन था और अकाउंट को क्लोज डाउन कर दिया। दोनों ही आपको चेक करने हैं सर। ठीक है, अपग्रेडेशन, अपग्रेडेशन के लिए आरबीआई क्या कहता है सर, सपोज एग्जांपल लेते हैं, एक अकाउंट पिछले साल एनपीए बना, ठीक है, 31 मार्च 2021 को उसकी 4 इंस्टॉलमेंट ओवर ड्यू थी सर, अकाउंट एनपीए था। इस साल उसने क्या किया, कस्टमर ने, बोरोवर ने 4 इंस्टॉलमेंट तो पुरानी दी और 11 इंस्टॉलमेंट इस साल की दे दी। तो 31 मार्च 2022 को उसकी सिर्फ एक इंस्टॉलमेंट ओवर ड्यू थी। अब बैंक क्या कहता है कि सर देखिए 90 डेज नॉर्म्स है एनपीए के लिए, अब इसकी सिर्फ एक इंस्टॉलमेंट ओवर ड्यू है, तो ये अकाउंट को हम अपग्रेड कर देते हैं इनटू स्टैंडर्ड कैटेगरी। क्या ये सही है? क्या वो अपग्रेड कर सकता है इस अकाउंट को? तो आरबीआई कहता है नहीं सर। तो आरबीआई क्या कहता है सर, ऑन द डेट ऑफ अपग्रेडेशन, जिस डेट को आप अपग्रेड कर रहे हो अकाउंट को, देयर शुड नॉट बी एनी ओवर ड्यूज इन दी अकाउंट। 1 रुपए भी ओवर ड्यू नहीं होना चाहिए सर। ठीक है, तो हमें चेक करना है कितने केसेस में अकाउंट्स को अपग्रेड किया गया और क्या वो प्रिंसिपल जो है, जो आरबीआई कहता है कि देयर शुड नॉट बी एनी ओवर ड्यूज इन दी अकाउंट ऑन द डेट ऑफ अपग्रेडेशन, वो हमारे को वेरीफाई करना है। नेक्स्ट पॉइंट की बात करें कि रिकवरी आ गई या कॉम्प्रोमाइज हो गया। अब जब वन टाइम सेटलमेंट की मैं बात करता हूं सर, तो आपसे एलएफएआर में एक स्पेसिफिक क्वेश्चन आता है केसेस अबाउट, जो आपसे पूछते हैं अबाउट वन टाइम सेटलमेंट की। तो वन टाइम सेटलमेंट के वो केसेस आपको वहां से मिल जाएंगे लिस्ट, आप उसको वेरीफाई कर सकते हैं। दूसरा, जो अकाउंट की क्लोजर्स की बात अगर हम करें, तो क्लोजर्स की बात करें तो क्लोजर्स के अंदर क्या होता है सर, आई विल गिव यू एन एग्जांपल व्हाई इट इज सो इम्पोर्टेंट। इन वन ऑफ द केसेस सर, मैंने ऐसा हमेशा लोगों को बताता हूँ कि ये आपको एक्टिविटी करनी चाहिए। इन वन ऑफ द केसेस व्हाट हैपेंड, वन ऑफ द पर्सन्स कॉल्ड मी अप, टोल्ड मी सर कि मैं इस ब्रांच में ऑडिट करने आया हूँ, इट वाज अ रूरल ब्रांच, इसमें पिछले साल से अराउंड 800 अकाउंट्स फॉर एनपीएस। इस साल के अंदर जब मैं लिस्ट देख रहा हूँ तो दी अकाउंट्स विच आर एनपीएस आर लेस देन 100 से भी कम अकाउंट एनपीए रह गए हैं सर। और मैंने उनसे पूछा कि भाई क्या हुआ है, अपग्रेड हुए हैं अकाउंट? कह रहे नहीं सर, वो अकाउंट क्लोज डाउन हो गए हैं, 700 अकाउंट से ज्यादा अकाउंट्स हैं जिसमें रिकवरी आ गई है और अकाउंट क्लोज डाउन हो गए। तो आई टोल्ड देम दैट इट लुक्स टू बी वेरी डिफिकल्ट केस कि भाई रूरल ब्रांच के अंदर 700 से ज्यादा अकाउंट में रिकवरी आ गई है। मैंने कहा आप इसको प्लीज ध्यान से देखिए कि रिकवरी का सोर्स क्या है। तो उनको एक बड़ा ही अजीब वाक्य मिला और ये बड़ा इंपॉर्टेंट है, एक आई ओपनर है हमारे लिए। तो उसमें ब्रांच मैनेजर ने क्या किया, सब ब्रांच के अंदर, जैसे एक से मिस्टर रामलाल का एक अकाउंट है, उसमें 5 लाख का डेबिट बैलेंस है, अकाउंट एनपीए था लास्ट ईयर। उन्होंने एक मार्च में एक एंट्री डाली सर, रामलाल अकाउंट क्रेडिट 5 लाख रुपए, सस्पेंस अकाउंट डेबिट 5 लाख रुपए। रामलाल अकाउंट के अंदर पूरी रिकवरी आ गई, अकाउंट क्लोज डाउन, एनपीए रिमूव्ड। अब वो सस्पेंस अकाउंट में डेबिट खड़ा हो गया 5 लाख का। शाम को एक उन्होंने एंट्री डाली इन दी इवनिंग कि सस्पेंस अकाउंट क्रेडिट 5 लाख रुपए, रामलाल न्यू अकाउंट डेबिट 5 लाख रुपीज। अब रामलाल जी का सुबह भी 5 लाख रुपए देने थे उसने, शाम को भी 5 लाख रुपए देने हैं। सस्पेंस अकाउंट में सुबह डेबिट हुआ 5 लाख रुपए, शाम को क्रेडिट हो गया, किसी को कोई दिक्कत नहीं है। दिक्कत सिर्फ ये हुई सर, जो एनपीए था वो खत्म हो गया और एक नया अकाउंट आ गया, तो 1 मार्च को क्रिएट हुआ है, और जो आप चेक ही नहीं करने वाले कि भाई ये तो एनपीए बनने ही नहीं वाला। ऐसे करके उन्होंने नियरली 700 अकाउंट्स को साफ कर दिया। ठीक है, तो दीज काइंड ऑफ एक्टिविटीज यू कैन, इट शुड नॉट बी हैपनिंग, बट समहाउ वी हैव सीन ओवर द इयर्स कि कुछ इस तरह की एक्टिविटीज कई बार ब्रांचेस में होती है। तो व्हेन यू डू दिस काइंड ऑफ एनालिसिस, you will be able to find out any such activity which may be happening at your branches. ठीक है, तो this is important sir. एक legal expenses sir, this is a very important area I can tell you sir. एक आपको एरिया को सर्टिफाई करना होता है, claims against the bank not acknowledged debt, ठीक है, contingent liability। अब अगर आप बैंक से पूछे सर ऐसे कितने केसेस है, वो कहेगा नील। हम क्या करते हैं सर, लीगल एक्सपेंसेस को आप उठाइए, उसके सारे वाउचर्स चेक कर लीजिए, उसके अंदर आप चेक करिए किस एक्सपेंस क्यों, किस केस के लिए इसकी पेमेंट हुई है। अगर बैंक ने कोई केस फाइल किया है फॉर रिकवरी ऑफ सम ड्यूज, आई हैव नो प्रॉब्लम्स। पर अगर ऐसा कोई केस आपको मिल जाता है जहां पे बैंक इज अ डिफेंडेंट, प्लीज लुक एट द लीगल फाइल। एटलीस्ट इट विल गिव यू अ कॉन्टिंजेंट लायबिलिटी एंड समटाइम्स इट आल्सो गिव्स यू एक्चुअल लायबिलिटीज। जब आप फाइल को देखते हैं तो आपको पता चलता है एक एक्चुअल प्रोविजन भी करवाने की जरूरत है। ठीक है, तो ये बड़ा इंपॉर्टेंट एक्टिविटी है। एक आता है सर कैपिटल एडिक्वेसी की स्टेटमेंट। तो कैपिटल एडिक्वेसी की मैं स्टेटमेंट की बात करूं, बेसल नॉर्म्स की बात करूं, तो कैसे आप उसको वेरीफाई करते हैं? तो जनरली मैंने देखा है जब मैं फिजिकल सेमिनार लेता हूं तो कोई इसके लिए कोई आंसर नहीं देता, या लोग कहते हैं सर ये तो जोनल लेवल एक्टिविटी है, हमें ब्रांच लेवल पे इसको वेरीफाई करने की जरूरत नहीं है। तो जब मैं उनसे कहता हूँ कि सर पर आप सिग्नेचर तो कर रहे हैं, तो कहीं ना कहीं आपकी कोई रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी क्रिएट हो रही है। तो व्हाट यू नीड टू डू सर, कि जो उसमें डाटा आता है सर, तो देयर सर्टेन बकेट्स इन देयर, वो बकेट्स में डाटा डिवाइडेड होता है सर, एडवांसेस का, डिपॉजिट्स का। वो डाटा जो है सर, उसकी वर्कशीट आपको मांगनी है ब्रांच से कि भैया ये डाटा की मुझे वर्कशीट दीजिए कि इस बकेट के अंदर कौन से अकाउंट्स हैं। इफ दे प्रोवाइड यू विद दैट डाटा यू कैन वेरीफाई इट, सैंपल केसेस पे वेरीफाई करिए, इफ यू आर सेटिस्फाइड साइन। अगर वो आपको वर्कशीट प्रोवाइड नहीं कर रहा ना सर, तो प्लीज मेंशन ऑन द फेस ऑफ द सर्टिफिकेट दैट we are the data is not provided to us, we are unable to verify the accuracy of the data. This is a very important activity. Okay, इसके अलावा जीएसटी में रिवर्स चार्ज कैन बी इम्पोर्टेंट, क्वेश्चन जिलानी, आई नॉट गेट इनटू इट। इंट्रोस्पेक्शन की मैं बात करता हूँ सर, वेरी क्रिटिकल। क्या है सर, हम बैंक ऑडिट के अंदर बहुत सारे पेपर साइन करते हैं, ठीक है, चाहे वो ऑनलाइन साइन कर रहे हो चाहे हम मैन्युअली साइन कर रहे हो, एक बहुत बड़ा बंच ऑफ पेपर साइन करते हैं। Every document is prepared and provided to us by the bank. There is only one document which we prepare, which is an audit report. वो audit report main statutory audit report भी हो सकती है, वो LFAR भी हो सकती है, या कोई और रिपोर्ट भी हो सकती है। और मुझे लगता है सर सबसे कम टाइम हम उसी पे लगाते हैं। तो इट इज वेरी क्रिटिकल सर कि हम अपनी ऑडिट रिपोर्ट को थोड़ा ध्यान से देखें, कट पेस्ट में बिलीव ना करें। देयर वुड बी अ सैंपल ऑडिट रिपोर्ट व्हिच द बैंक वुड हैव प्रोवाइडेड यू, please look at that report also. There is a sample of audit report which the institute has also provided you in the guidance note of the audit of banks. उसको भी देखिए, अपना application of mind करिए and then form your audit opinion sir. आपकी audit report should reflect the work which you have done. It is the summary of your findings sir. तो उसको ये मत मानिए कि एक standard audit report का format है, उसी को हमें follow करना है सर। और प्लीज एनी ऑडिट यू आर डूइंग प्लीज रेफर टू SA 700, ठीक है, ये ऑडिट रिपोर्ट के बारे में बात करता है। 705 क्वालिफाइड ओपिनियन की बात करता है, मॉडिफाइड ओपिनियन की बात करता है। 706 इज इन रिलेशन टू एम्फेसिस ऑफ मैटर। आपने कई बार देखा होगा हम एक रिपोर्ट में एम्फेसिस देते हैं, तो वो 706 से आता है। 701 इज की ऑडिट फाइंडिंग्स, ठीक है, एंड 720 इज रिलेशन टू अदर मैटर्स टू बी रिपोर्टेड इन ऑडिट रिपोर्ट। तो ये जो आप मान के चलिए 5 ऐसे हैं, इसको आपको जरूर रीड करना है, चाहे आप बैंक ऑडिट कर रहे हैं, चाहे आप कंपनी ऑडिट कर रहे हैं, चाहे आप टैक्स ऑडिट कर रहे हैं। इन 5 ऐसे को पढ़े बिना आपको एक्चुअली क्लियर नहीं होगा कि मुझे ऑडिट रिपोर्ट कैसे ड्राफ्ट करनी है। तो दिस इज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट सर। उसके अलावा आप IFC की रिपोर्टिंग करते हैं, इंटरनल फाइनेंशियल रिपोर्ट्स की। इसके ऊपर एक टेक्निकल गाइड है, इंटरनल फाइनेंशियल कंट्रोल इन केस ऑफ पब्लिक सेक्टर बैंक। प्लीज इसको जरूर पढ़िए सर, इससे आपको समझ में आएगा कि मेरी क्या रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी एट द ब्रांच लेवल, ठीक है। देन कम्युनिकेशन विद द प्रीवियस ऑडिटर, दिस वी हैव ऑलरेडी डिस्कस्ड। कंसिस्टेंसी ऑफ रिपोर्टिंग बिटवीन वेरियस रिपोर्ट्स, कि भाई दोनों कंसिस्टेंट होनी चाहिए। आप मेन ऑडिट रिपोर्ट के अंदर LFAR का रेफरेंस नहीं दे सकते सर, LFAR में आप मेन ऑडिट रिपोर्ट का रेफरेंस दे सकते हैं, ठीक है। तो मेन statutory audit report is independent, it should not contain a reference to other reports, ठीक है। LFAR के अंदर आप उसका रेफरेंस दे सकते हैं। एंगेजमेंट लेटर SA 210 सर, इसका फॉर्मेट आपको गाइडेंस नोट जो इंस्टीट्यूट का है उसके अंदर ऑलरेडी प्रोवाइडेड है, प्लीज यूज दैट फॉर्मेट। रिटर्न रिप्रेजेंटेशन सर, वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट, अगेन द फॉर्मेट इज प्रोवाइडेड बट यू डोंट इवन नीड टू यूज दैट फॉर्मेट। आप जहां जहां पे आप बिलीव कर रहे हैं बैंक की स्टेटमेंट में, ब्रांच मैनेजर की स्टेटमेंट पे आप ओरली पूछेंगे सर, वो ओरली आपको कुछ भी आंसर कर देगा। जब आप रिटर्न में मांगते हैं तो देन ही हैज टू थिंक बिफोर राइटिंग, देन ही विल चेक एंड राइट। ही विल नॉट, ही इज नॉट लाइकली टू गिव यू अ रॉन्ग स्टेटमेंट बिकॉज उसको पता है उसकी कोई लाइबिलिटी बनती है व्हेन ही गिव्स इट इन राइटिंग। तो कोशिश करिए जहां जहां पे आप रिलाई कर रहे हैं ऑन दी बैंक, ऑन दी स्टेटमेंट ऑफ दी ब्रांच मैनेजर, कोशिश करिए वो रिटर्न रिप्रेजेंटेशन की फॉर्म में लिखिए, ठीक है। देन लास्ट, द अकाउंटिंग पॉलिसीज ऑफ द बैंक, ये बहुत क्रिटिकल है सर। आपकी बैंक की क्या पॉलिसी है, उसके बिना आप ऑडिट कैसे करेंगे। एक बैंक में हो सकता है लॉकर रेंट कैश बेसिस पे लेते हो, कोई बैंक हो सकता है लॉकर रेंट को एक्रूअल बेसिस पे अकाउंट फॉर करता हो। तो अगर आप अकाउंटिंग पॉलिसी को नहीं पढ़ रहे, विच वुड डेफिनेटली कम एज पार्ट ऑफ योर क्लोजिंग इंस्पेक्शंस, तो कहीं ना कहीं आप ऑडिट के अंदर कमी छोड़ के आ सकते हैं या प्रॉपर ऑडिट नहीं करते। So these are some of the activities which I think you should do before you are able to do any work in this area. ठीक है, कोई लैप्सेस आप करेंगे तो देयर इज ऑलरेडी अ इन्फोर्समेंट एक्शन फ्रेमवर्क। ये 2018 की एक प्रेस रिलीज है आरबीआई की, उसमें उन्होंने कहा है कि लैप्सेस इन कैरिंग आउट ऑडिट असाइनमेंट्स resulting in a misstatement of a bank's financial statement, wrong certification, wrong information in long form audit report, misconduct by auditors, any other violation lapses. इसके लिए they can issue a show cause notice to you, demand an explanation, and based upon your explanation take an action against you. And already we have seen cases where show cause notices have been issued to our professional brothers. So please be careful about the work we do. एंड सबसे इंपॉर्टेंट बात जो मैं कहना चाहता हूँ सर, क्यों मैंने ये आपको स्लाइड दिखाई, कि वी डू अ गुड जॉब सर, हम जाते हैं, बहुत काम करते हैं, बहुत मेहनत करते हैं, बट व्हेन इट कम्स टू अ डॉक्यूमेंटेशन, कल मेरे को कोई नोटिस आ जाए और वो कहे कि भाई एक्सप्लेन करें अपना कंडक्ट, कि आपने क्या क्या सैंपल लिए थे, कैसे ऑडिट किया था, तो जो मेरी डॉक्यूमेंटेशन है जनरली वो इतनी पुअर होती है कि मैं अपने जो मैंने काम किया है उसको दिखा नहीं पाता कि मैंने क्या क्या काम किया था, क्या क्या एक्टिविटीज की थी, क्या क्या सैंपल लिए थे। तो द डॉक्यूमेंटेशन बिकम्स वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट सर। तो प्लीज जहां पे भी आप कोई काम कर रहे हैं, कोशिश करिए एक प्रॉपर डॉक्यूमेंट उसका प्रिपेयर करिए, क्या सैंपल लिया वो प्रिपेयर करिए। आज की डेट में एलएफएआर इटसेल्फ आपसे एडवांसेस के लिए मांग रहा है कि आपने क्या क्या सैंपल लिया सर। इससे पहले कभी आपने नहीं देखा था, पिछले साल ही एलएफएआर का जो फॉर्मेट आया उसमें उसने आपसे सैंपल ही मांग लिया कि अपना सैंपल डिस्क्लोज कीजिए एडवांसेस के अगेंस्ट में। तो कल को आप ये नहीं कह सकते कि सर ये मेरे सैंपल में नहीं था, वो तो आपसे कह रहा है सैंपल ही बताइए मेरे को, आपने क्या सैंपल लिया और उससे आपका कितना ऑडिट कवरेज हो रहा है एडवांसेस का। तो दिस बिकम्स अ वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट एक्टिविटी कि हमारी जो डॉक्यूमेंटेशन हो सर वो बहुत अच्छी तरीके से हम प्रिपेयर करें और उसको फाइल में मेंटेन करें सर। ठीक है, सर्टिफिकेट्स की बात करें तो सर्टिफिकेट्स ऑफ कोर्स नॉट माय एरिया, बट इसको ध्यान से करिए सर। और अगेन इसके लिए एक मैं आपको बात बताता हूँ, एक हमारा गाइडेंस नोट है इंस्टीट्यूट का, गाइडेंस नोट ऑन रिपोर्ट्स और सर्टिफिकेट फॉर स्पेशल पर्पसेस, 2016 का रिवाइज एडिशन है सर। ये बेसिकली एक आपको फॉर्मेट प्रोवाइड करता है, इस फॉर्मेट को आपको यूज करना है जहां जहां पे स्पेशली आप कोई सर्टिफिकेट को 100% वेरीफाई नहीं करता। जैसे फॉर एग्जांपल एग्रीकल्चर एडवांसेस, उसके अंदर इंटरेस्ट सबमिशन का एक सर्टिफिकेट आता है, मुझे नहीं लगता कोई भी हम में से उसको 100% वेरीफाई कर सकता है, पर क्योंकि सर्टिफिकेट का वर्ड आता है ट्रू एंड करेक्ट, मेरी रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी जो है एब्सोल्यूट है उसके अंदर, तो प्लीज यूज दिस फॉर्मेट प्रोवाइडेड इन दिस गाइडेंस नोट। ये बेसिकली फॉर्मेट आपको क्या हेल्प कर रहा है कि जो आपकी एब्सोल्यूट लाइबिलिटी है ट्रू एंड करेक्ट, ये कह रहा है कि सर हमारी रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी इसमें ट्रू एंड फेयर है, ट्रू एंड करेक्ट नहीं है। ठीक है, तो प्लीज रेफर टू दिस गाइडेंस नोट एंड स्पेशली जहां पे कोई भी आप ऐसा सर्टिफिकेट चेक कर साइन कर रहे हैं जिसको आप 100% वेरीफाई करने की पोजीशन में नहीं है, तो यूज द फॉर्मेट प्रोवाइडेड बाय दिस गाइडेंस। ठीक है सर, तो दिस इज व्हाट आई वांटेड टू से। आई थिंक already the time we have crossed. Again my regret for delaying the things from my side. Could not have helped it actually. There was a program in the morning which got delayed and somehow I am late in my office. So any questions we have we can discuss. Otherwise thank you for your patient hearing provided to me sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Sir, there are few questions. So should I take up them one by one?
Yeah, please.
Okay, sir. So I am sharing the question screen, so that will be easy for you.
Right, sir.
So this is the first question. Sir, if at all manual override is there, where it has to be done and by whom? Because it has to be done in centralized location. What is the meaning of centralized location? Is it HO, ZO or RO?
The centralized location has not been defined in the circular. They say preferably it should be a centralized location, should not happen at the branch level. But in any case, what is important for us is that when we go for the audit this time, आप इस सर्कुलर का रेफरेंस देके उनसे रिटर्न रिप्रेजेंटेशन लीजिए कि कितने केसेस हैं जहां पे उन्होंने मैनुअल ओवरराइड किया है सिस्टम में। और वो मैनुअल ओवरराइड को तो आपको चेक करना ही है कि भाई वो लॉजिकल था, वो सही था या नहीं था। और अगर वो कहते हैं कोई मैनुअल ओवरराइड उन्होंने नहीं किया तो उसका आप रिटर्न रिप्रेजेंटेशन लीजिए। अब वो मैनुअल ओवरराइड ब्रांच लेवल पे हुआ या सेंट्रल लेवल पे हुआ, वो इतना इंपॉर्टेंट नहीं है। मेन चीज ये है कि जो भी वो ऑडिट ट्रेल है, जो उसको एक्चुअली आरबीआई सर्कुलर भी कह रहा है कि इट शुड बी सब्जेक्ट टू ऑडिट, तो वो ऑडिट आपको करना है उसका। दिस इज अ वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट एक्टिविटी। मुझे नहीं लगता कि इस एक्टिविटी को करे बिना इस साल कोई भी ऑडिटर अपना काम पूरा कर सकता है। ठीक है,
Right. Next question is, sir, from where we can get the database of Acrylic?
सर आप अपनी ब्रांच को कहिए कि मुझे क्रिलिक की इसकी रिपोर्ट निकाल के दीजिए एज ऑन 31 मार्च, जिस अकाउंट की आप कहेंगे। ऑफ कोर्स इट वुड बी 5 करोड़ एंड अबव ओनली, उसी का डाटाबेस उसमें जाता है, वो आपको वो रिपोर्ट जनरेट करके दे सकता है सर। एनी बैंक कैन एक्सेस। हाँ
ब्रांच
जी,
के पास डाटा रहता है।
हाँ जी, किसी वो पॉइंट पे वो जनरेट कर सकता है सर। अगर बाई चांस उसके पास क्रिलिक की एक्सेस नहीं है, मैं एक एग्जांपल भी ले लेता हूँ एक्सेप्शन, तो दे कैन इजीली टेक इट फ्रॉम देयर आरओ आल्सो, तो इसमें कोई इशू नहीं है। ठीक है,
फाइन सर। Next question is, sir, can you please repeat on interest charge on NPA account before it became NPA? Does it need to be recognized, de-recognized?
राइट। तो सर बेसिकली आरबीआई क्या कहता है सर, जो इनकम रिकॉग्निशन नॉर्म्स हैं उसमें क्या था, जिस डेट को आपका अकाउंट एनपीए हुआ, लेट्स टेक एन एग्जांपल 30 सितंबर 2021 को हुआ, तो उसके बाद तो सिस्टम वुड नॉट लेवी एनी इंटरेस्ट और एनी बैंक चार्जेस ऑन दैट अकाउंट अनलेस अंटिल इट इज रियलाइज्ड। पर जो उससे पहले एक्चुअली में लग चुके थे ऑन द एक्रूअल सिस्टम, तो अगर अकाउंट एनपीए नहीं है तो एक्रूअल सिस्टम पे आप इनकम रिकॉग्नाइज कर सकते हैं। ठीक है, जो लग चुके थे पर जो रियलाइज नहीं हुए थे उनको हमें डी रिकॉग्नाइज करना होता है। ठीक है, और उसके लिए मुझे सिर्फ इस फाइनेंशियल ईयर को देखना है नहीं सर, पिछले फाइनेंशियल ईयर को भी देख सकता हूँ, उससे पिछले फाइनेंशियल ईयर को भी देख सकता हूँ। इस बार जो आरबीआई के नए सर्कुलर्स आए हैं, जो कल अजय जी आपको बताएंगे जिसके बारे में, बस एक चीज आपको ध्यान रखनी है, उसमें उन्होंने क्लैरिफिकेशन दी कि अगर कोई अकाउंट ऐसा है जिसमें इंटरेस्ट के ऊपर मॉरिटोरियम था, कि आपको इंटरेस्ट पे करने की जरूरत नहीं है किसी पर्टिकुलर पीरियड के अंदर, एट द टाइम ऑफ ओरिजिनल सैंक्शन इटसेल्फ देयर वाज अ मॉरिटोरियम, तो अकाउंट अगर एनपीए बनता भी है तो जिस पीरियड के लिए मॉरिटोरियम था इंटरेस्ट की पेमेंट पे, उसको रिवर्सल नहीं करना। ये उन्होंने क्लैरिफाई किया है, क्योंकि वो मानते हैं कि जी वो तो ऑलरेडी कैपिटलाइज हो ही चुका है, दैट वाज टू बी कैपिटलाइज, तो उसको रिवर्सल नहीं करना, पर अदरवाइज आप पूरा रिवर्सल कर सकते हैं। रिवर्सल मतलब डी रिकॉग्नाइज करना है आपको बेसिकली।
राइट सर। नेक्स्ट क्वेश्चन, व्हाट शुड बी ऑडिटर व्यू इन केस ऑफ कंटिन्यूएशन ऑफ लोन अकाउंट ऑफ द डिसीज्ड in the deceased name itself by one of the legal hire?
तो पहली चीज है सर, चाहे ये बोरोवर अकाउंट हो चाहे ये डिपॉजिट अकाउंट हो, वंस अ पर्सन इज डिसीज द अकाउंट ऑपरेशन शुड स्टॉप, क्योंकि डिसीज पर्सन के अकाउंट में ऑपरेशंस नहीं हो सकते। ठीक है, मैक्सिमम से मैक्सिमम क्रेडिट्स आ सकते हैं, कोई जेन्युइन क्रेडिट्स हैं, बैंक कैन वेरीफाई एंड गिव द क्रेडिट टू द अकाउंट, बट डेबिट्स अलाउ नहीं कर सकता, बिकॉज द मैंडेट ऑफ द बैंक डिसअपीयर्स ऑन द डेट द बैंक इज इन्फॉर्म्ड अबाउट द डेथ ऑफ द अकाउंट होल्डर वेदर ही इज अ बोरोवर और अ डिपॉजिटर। ठीक है, तो इट कैन नॉट बी कंटिन्यूड एट एनी पॉइंट ऑफ टाइम। अगर वो प्रोप्राइटरशिप फर्म है, द प्रोप्राइटर वुड हैव टू बी चेंज, द न्यू प्रोप्राइटर वुड रिप्लेस, and whatever the action needs to be taken by the branch to secure their interest that they would take, but it cannot be continued in the name of the deceased person. ठीक है सर?
Right sir. Sir, next last question is, how much sample coverage is idle?
सर ये कुछ भी नहीं हो सकता, ये मैं नहीं बता सकता। अगर आप एक एग्रीकल्चर ब्रांच में चले जाएं तो हो सकता है अगर आप 10% या 20% भी कवरेज कर ले तो बहुत ज्यादा है, इट इज मोर देन आइडल। और अगर आप किसी बड़ी ब्रांच में पहुंच गए जहां पे से, जैसे एक एग्जांपल लेता हूं, मैं एक ब्रांच में ऑडिट करने गया सर, 200 करोड़ की ब्रांच थी, 150 करोड़ एक ही अकाउंट को दे रखा था और वो भी अनसिक्योर्ड। किसी गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया की कंपनी थी, उसको 150 करोड़ से उन्हें एडवांस कर रखा था अनसिक्योर्ड। अब उसके अंदर मेरा 150 करोड़ भी मैं कवर कर लूं तो वो कहेंगे भाई से तो एक ही अकाउंट से हो गया, तो आप ये थोड़ी करोगे कि जी मैं एक अकाउंट करके आ गया वेरीफाई। सो इट इज डिपेंडेंट अपॉन द केस टू केस सर, बट एक नॉर्मल सर्कमस्टांसेस की अगर मैं बात करूं, अगर आप 20 से 25% कवरेज भी कर लेते हो, आई थिंक दैट इज मोर देन इनफ। उसके अंदर आपको पता ही है 10% और 10 करोड़ whichever is less, वो तो आपका कंपलसरी है, वो तो आपको करना ही करना है, वो तो LFAR ही आपका डिमांड कर रहा है। और उसके अलावा जो बड़े केसेस आपको करने हैं, छोटे केसेस में कुछ सैंपल आप उठा लीजिए। That is the best way.
One more question is there.
Yes, sir.
It has been seen in few branch audit that they capitalize assets purchased by officers of the bank as per the policy of the bank. However, in many such cases, the bills were seen in the name of officers and not in the name of bank. We mentioned the same in our report. Can we suggest not capitalizing such assets as the bills are not in the bank's name?
सर एक्चुअली बिल्स होने तो बैंक के नाम पे ही चाहिए, पर ये होता है जैसे मोबाइल फोन्स वगैरह वो उनको उनका या फर्नीचर वगैरह उनको मिलता है जो वो परचेज कर सकते हैं और वो कैपिटलाइज कर देते हैं बुक्स के अंदर। आप इसमें पॉलिसी ये देखिए सर कि जो एसेट है उसका क्या होगा आफ्टर द ऑफिसर इज ट्रांसफर्ड। अगर वो उसको डिस्पोज ऑफ करके जा रहा है और उसकी प्रोसीड्स बैंक को नहीं मिल रही, तो इन एनी केस द बैंक डज नॉट हैव एनी ओनरशिप ऑन द एसेट एंड इट शुड नॉट बी कैपिटलाइज्ड इन द बुक्स ऑफ द ब्रांच। तो आप पॉलिसी ऑफ द बैंक जरूर देखिए इसमें क्या है। अगर वो उसमें से कुछ उसकी रिकवरी कर रहे हैं कि ठीक है जी हम इतना आपको हमारे को पेमेंट करनी है, एसेट हमारा ही है, बैंक का ही है, कल को उसको डिस्पोज ऑफ करेंगे तो उसके प्रोसीड्स बैंक को आएंगे, तो देन ऑफ कोर्स इट हैज टू बी कैपिटलाइज्ड। It can of course be a point that the bill of the asset should be in the name of the bank. तो वो policy of the bank पे depend है.
Fine, sir. So there is no more question, sir. If anybody has any question, they can raise their hand. We can unmute them. There is no question, sir. So I think with this we close our session. Sir, this was a wonderful session. I think you have covered and enlightened us with the audit planning and documentation. It was a step-by-step deliberation of all the points. So with this, I thanks a lot on behalf of Views Exchange and all the audience. So thank you very much, sir. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, sir. Thank you very much. Very nice. Thank you. I thanks all the audience who has participated in today's seminar. So thank you very much. With this, I end the today's seminar. We'll be waiting for you tomorrow.